have the radios back on too.
We're ready in the radio. Yep, we're broadcasting.
Great, so I will call this December 14th, 2020 regular city council meeting to order. So let's get council members back on the line. Thanks, Brenda.
Welcome to the GPL. Thank you. Please stand by. If you are the chairperson, please enter your chair. You will now be placed into conference. There are 3 participants in the conference.
Great, welcome. We're leading into, if everyone could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. And Lieutenant, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Madam Clerk, would you do the roll call, please?
Tonight's roll call. Cease.
Yeah.
Thank you. Casagrande.
Here.
Thank you. Lackawanna.
Present.
DeMoss.
Here.
McClure.
Here.
Bosenga.
Here.
Mayor Terry.
Yes.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is citizen comments on any subject except those items scheduled for public hearing. We do have one public hearing item, so if we could have those comments, please, Madam Clerk.
Yes, we have a variety, so we have a few to call and a few to read.
Thank you.
And the first person that we'll call is Becky Dunn. Hello, Becky. It's Brenda. You are with City Council, and you have 3 minutes for your citizen comments.
Okay, I have been done. I'm about inside the city of Seward, and I'm also the one responsible for getting city council meetings in the Keno City suburbs of meetings on air for KIVH 91.7. I do this as a volunteer, so I really appreciate the mayor and council who are volunteering, putting much more time and effort into this than I am. So, and public meetings are a challenge to keep good public in with COVID times. But I do have a request. If the council meeting is adjourned and it goes back on record, could I please be notified? And if there is some kind of for whatever reason, if they go back online or the meeting is brought back, this last time this happened was October 27th. It was an important meeting. A new council member was sworn in. The recorder was brought in, and then there was after the meeting, it was adjourned, then it was brought back on to public record, but I wasn't told, so it wasn't aired. And the conflict of interest between one of the council members and the member that they elected a new member themselves to replace that city council member that left. And that wasn't, it was a matter of public record, but I wasn't received notice that it was on air, so I didn't put it on air. I wasn't singled out as I couldn't find it on the YouTube channel and I couldn't find it on Radio Texas, Facebook either. So I did manage to find it, put it down and download it, but it was difficult to find that and also to find the mayor was, not the mayor, the city manager was fired after that meeting too, and that was brought back on record. Also, if I could receive notice if there's any problem with the equipment. This has also happened before, and we were just unplugged, and I thought the meeting for anything, if I could be notified, my phone number is 907-362-1471. And thank you much. Also, the public was a great help. I wanted to thank them for during the power outages. I asked for people to call me when the power went back on so I could grab my generator that I loaned to the radio station so we could remain on air, and I received several texts. So if anybody ever hears dead air, I would appreciate a phone call or a text. Thank you so much for that. That made me realize that yes, people are listening. There were phone numbers I was receiving texts from that I didn't even have in my address book. So thank you much.
Thank you.
The next signed in is Michelle Kowalski, and I'll read. Hello, this is Michelle Kowalski, community member and small business owner. I would like to add my voice to those supporting increasing funding to the Seward Prevention Coalition in order to help locals through the bill relief program. Now that we are in the heart of winter, we know that many households continue to struggle. This is a program that helps people with basic needs, housing, heat, electricity. By paying bills directly, we know that we are supporting families to stay safe and warm in a time of unprecedented uncertainty and economic distress. Please consider funding this project. Doing so is a clear way of showing the community that Seward cares. Next is Saul DeMoss. Mayor and Council, I am writing in regards to the $1.3 million in CARES money that the city is still sitting on. The money was originally meant for small business and nonprofits, and that is where it should go. There will be countless small businesses that will not recover from this pandemic and that have already used their savings to survive. These small businesses are paying utilities, taxes, and employing your family and friends in our community. I expect the city of Seward to cut expenses and use reserves, just as small businesses have had to do during this time to make it through. Please do the right thing and distribute the money as intended. Next, we're going to call out to Katie Cornwell.
Hi, Katie.
Hi Katie, you are with City Council and you have 3 minutes for citizen comment.
Thank you. I just wanted to speak to the Extra CARES Act funding and request that some of it be allocated to the Seward Prevention Coalition. We originally had requested a certain amount for our bills relief program for the community, and we only had initially received about half of what we had asked for, and so we would just like to request the remaining half that we can distribute to the community. When we opened up the application process, we were anticipating it to take about a month, and we had it open for a month for people to apply. But within the first 24 hours, we had more applications than we had funding for, and we had to basically close down our application process, and we had over, 250 households within the first 24 hours applied to that for our program, and then we had more apply after that. And so all the money that we had has been allocated, and if we had more, we'd be able to help more people, because I know there was a lot of people that just weren't even able to apply because they didn't even hear about it. The other things that I wanted to address with it is that I know that there's some concerns in regards to it staying within city limits, but about 8%, maybe even 9% of the bills that we have paid for have been to the city. So it's either to city utilities, oil, or landlords and stuff that resides in Seward city limits. So anyway, I would just really like the consideration of the council to consider putting those fundings so that we can put them back into the community. I mean, all the money that we gain from this, from the CARES Act, doesn't go to any operation costs or anything like that for the coalition. We're basically just acting as a way to get that money directly back out into the community. And it not only just helps the individuals, but it's also helping business owners that are landlords and
is my understanding that there is a resolution on the table to split funds between the City of Seward and small businesses, nonprofits. I feel that those funds were intended to help small businesses and not balance government shortfalls. Correct me if I'm wrong, but shouldn't an emergency declaration free funds to cover those shortfalls? Our business, the cookery, was deeply affected by the pandemic and subsequent mandates and loss of business. Our reserves were depleted rather quickly while trying to keep our employees paid. We were lucky enough to get PPP funds, but that only lasted through part of the summer. We had to make the difficult decision to shutter for the winter and sadly lay off our staff. Even with closing, we were still forced to take out loans just to make sure we can open again in the spring. And while I try to remain positive, there is still no guarantee that business will get back to normal in the spring. Even in the best case scenario, it will take several years or longer to recover from 2020. Please consider maximizing available funds to help small businesses like ours, as well as nonprofits that have fewer avenues for revenue. Next, we will call Carol Griswold.
Hello, this is Carol.
Hey Carol, you're with City Council. You have 3 minutes for citizen comments.
Thank you. Carol Griswold, inside city limits. Dear Council and Administration, I support Ordinance 2020-015, amending the land use plan to rezone the Jesse Lee Hall parcels from multifamily to park. I'm concerned about the article in the recent Seward Journal, which alleged that the demolition grant requires that the property be developed for commercial purposes, contrary to public expectations. I urge Council to research this and, if true, obtain a waiver due to the overwhelming recent Council, public, and P&Z support to honor the historic site as Memorial Park. Creating a memorial off-site is disrespectful and inappropriate. I'm concerned about Resolution 2020-094 CARES Act grant funds. I appreciate the improved substitute resolutions offered by Council members Bacron and Nancies. However, why are Phase 1 businesses that previously received grant funds allowed, but Phase 2 small businesses that previously received funds excluded? Both Phase 1 and Phase 2 businesses should be eligible. It also seems that qualified Seward business applicants that did not previously receive CARES Act money due to lack of funding should receive funding before any other qualified businesses receive a second grant. To be very clear about KPEDD administering funds on behalf of the city, the last whereas should specify Seward, as in KPEDD to administer funds to the qualified Seward applicants of Alaska Cares. In these uncertain times for our budget, I hope Council and Administration will strongly consider not funding or filling non-essential vacant positions like the executive assistant for Parks and Rec. Finally, I appreciate the future addition of Zoom capabilities for Council meetings. I hope this will allow the public to participate without the 2 p.m. deadline restriction. And the P.S., would the mayor please raise the screen so the public can see the clock? Thank you for your enormous commitment of time and energy to our community. Bye.
Thank you.
I'm just going to address that clock right now. We intentionally have that screen pulled down because that clock is not working, so it's misrepresenting the time. So normally we have that clock up and going. We'll have it ready by the next meeting. So thanks for pointing that out.
Next, we will call Dana Paperman.
Hello?
Hi Dana, you're with City Council and you have 3 minutes for citizen comments.
Thank you. My name is Dana Zimmerman. I reside at 2409 Oak Street. I'm the director of the Seward Senior Center, where we serve more than 100 senior citizen households
emergency meals since March 13th. Today, I'm going to continue receiving city support to continue extending our sound, nutritious hot meals. These ensure community inclusiveness and the necessary safety net as we continue to safely navigate the COVID-19 pandemic. Senior Center services have led more reports this year than my past 20 years as a director to referrals to adult protective services, City of Seward Police wellness calls and checkups, referrals to Alaska Legal Services, Social Security and Medicare enrollments. At this time, we continue standing to be the cornerstone of senior services, and we'll continue this journey through these difficult times, ensuring our seniors that they won't go without a personal phone call, an outreach, a volunteer riding to their door 3 days a week with 5 hot meals, continuing to make them feel included in this time of growing need in our community. And one of the silver linings is we've increased our services out into our community and found many more individuals in our community that are really reliant on home services that didn't know we were there at the beginning of this pandemic. So we are providing another level of care. So our concern at this time is once we have what I'm looking for, protection against the COVID, we're concerned our numbers will still stay at a high threshold. So we're turning to the city at this time to stay in partnership with COVID funding and continue serving the greatest needs of our community, and that's our senior community. Thank you for this time, for sharing with you, and difficult decisions to make at the table tonight. So I'm grateful for your community dedication and community service. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is a note from Tim McDonald. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I am moved to comment due to Citizen Hunt's letter to the editor concerning the Jesse Lee Home property. Clearview and Forest Acres, the neighborhoods which surround the Jesse Lee property, stretch behind Marina Motel to the dump road. Solid residential housing, high density, single family, 2 schools, 2 grocery stores, and 1 gas station. What we need at Jesse Lee property is a community center / gymnasium for the kids. We will play basketball again. Someplace for all those cooped up kids to go. An environment the kids can go to play, study, or visit with friends. Potluck, Christmas parties, bingo, etc. That's what the neighborhood and the kids need. Every village in Alaska has a community center. Why don't we take this opportunity to have one? The possibility exists to build what we want, barn raising style. We did that for the children's playground at the beach. I believe Seward has the capabilities to build a community building out of pocket. Volunteerism could also be used to operate and maintain the building. Thoughts for a better Seward? And then, Madam Mayor, I received the one last comment that came in after the time, and I said I would ask.
I think with our limited access, go ahead and read the comment.
Okay. I'm writing today to ask, this is from Susie Towsley. I'm writing today to ask Seward City Council to vote to forward the remaining CARES Act funding to the Seward Prevention Coalition in order to effectively help those most in need in Seward. Thank you to Vice Mayor Bacon for bringing this forward. As you are all aware, CARES Act funding requires that it be spent by December 31st. The Seward Prevention Coalition is in the best position to be able to meet this deadline while also meeting the intention of the CARES Act funding itself to help those who have been negatively impacted by COVID-19. SPC performed direct assistance dispersal for 100 applicants in October and November. The need in the community was so great that requests quickly outstripped available funding during their initial application period. It makes sense to fully fund their efforts. The Prevention Coalition is doing tremendous work helping those in need of assistance. Has a system in place to do it, has a list of those most in need through their previous application process, and can quickly dispense the remaining funds. Forwarding these funds to the Seward Prevention Coalition is the best use of the remaining funding through an existing, efficient, highly functioning program to help those in our community in the greatest need this holiday season. This is one of the best ways you can help. Thank you again for all you do in the best interests of the people of Seward. And that is it, Madam Mayor.
Great, thank you. Next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda and consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the agenda and consent agenda.
I second it.
I'll start off. I'd like to take resolution 2020-094 off the consent agenda. And I'll look around, Vice Mayor Buckland.
And I would like to remove 2020-015 from the consent agenda.
Okay. And that's just for introduction.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any other changes? I'll go to the phones. Councilmember Casagrande, did you have any changes or amendments to the agenda?
No, thank you.
Councilmember Cease?
Yes, I would like to call 2020-096, just for discussion.
Okay, thank you. I'll look around the room. Is there anything else? Madam Clerk, if we could call for a vote, please.
Voting on tonight's agenda and consent agenda as amended. Osenga,
Yes.
Cease,
Yes.
Buckland,
Yes.
Casagrande,
Yes.
Demas,
Yes.
McClure,
Yes.
Mayor Terry.
Yes.
Your agenda and consent agenda are approved. Approved on tonight's consent agenda. Resolution 2020-093, extending the city's current state of emergency in response to the coronavirus outbreak and requesting state and federal relief assistance. Resolution 2020-095, urging the Alaska Legislature and Governor Dunleavy to fully fund the Municipal Harbor Facility Grant Program in the fiscal year 2022 state capital budget. Also approved, the November 23rd regular City Council meeting minutes, the December 3rd City Council special meeting minutes. You are discontinuing the practice of requiring reporting on public record requests, and that is it.
Great, thank you so much. Next on the agenda is special orders, presentations, and reports. First is recognizing the 50th anniversary of the Seward Marine Center in Seward. So I might ask Jen Elmert to come stand up here so that the audience can see your lovely face. And I love your mask, University of Alaska Fairbanks. So social distance, but I'm going to read this proclamation. Whereas in December 1970, the Institute of Marine Science was relocated from Douglas to Seward, and the University of Alaska designated it to be an institution for marine research. And whereas the Seward Marine Center consists of multiple facilities, including the K.M. Ray Building, the Orca Building, the D.W. Hood Laboratory, and the SMC Warehouse. And whereas the Seward Marine Center provides access to saltwater laboratory space, mooring facilities, office support, coastal support for Alaska's visiting marine and fisheries sciences, University of Alaska Fairbanks graduate students, staff, and faculty at the UAF College of Fisheries and Ocean Sciences. And whereas the Seward Marine Center is renowned as one of Alaska's primary docking facilities for marine research vessels and is proudly the home port of the RV Sikuliak. And now there I, Christy Terry, Mayor of the City of Seward, Alaska, do hereby congratulate the University of Alaska Fairbanks College of Fisheries and Ocean Sciences on the 50th anniversary of the Seward Marine Center, and do celebrate this wonderful and productive facility that contributes so much to the viability and vibrancy of Seward and its citizens this 14th day of December 2020. So, yay! So, I'll go ahead and let you say a few words, but first I want to say when I moved here 21 years ago is the Alpha Helix that was here. And so we've had an upgrade since that time, not just with one vessel, but two vessels. And then I know that Councilmember McClure helps every year with your ocean sciences. So thank you for everything going on, but I will give you this, and I will let you say a few words.
Well, this is great. I've been with the university for 20 years, and before that, under the supervision of Nikki Morosky, and she was there for quite a while as well. But yes, we've gone through quite a few reiterations of vessels. We had the Okona, and then the RV Sikuliak, and then, or the Helix and Sikuliak, and then now we have the RV Nanook, our 40-foot research vessel here doing near coastal research. So it's been a very good last 20 years, and we look forward to having the future support of the city and collaboratively working with all the other entities in the community as well.
Thank you for all you do, and I'll just give you. Borough Assembly report, and then next we have the city manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For POs that were, since the last council meeting, MIS has $13,645 for our laptops for remote locations when we close down, or we need to be able to work from home for a few folks. And then Public Works is $42,090 for emergency repairs at the lagoon. And then also Public Works is $28,570 for emergency repair also at the sewer lagoon. And then one thing I wanted to add to that is we had reached out to DOT, the local DOT here, about when the airport closes, and introduced him to the assistant city manager. And he's going to call us if they decide to close down the airport again, so we have more knowledge and we can put it out through the clerk to the folks in town. I want you to know to reach out to them for that. And I'll take any questions.
Great, well, I'll start in-house and then we'll go to folks on the phone. I'll look to Councilmember Osenga. Did you have any questions today, sir? Councilmember Damas?
I don't think I have any questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember McClure? No. Great, thank you. Vice Mayor Bahan?
I do have one question, and that was from the question from on the phone, was due to like all the lower parks operations that are happening because we have less things going on because of social distancing stuff, are we looking at holding on that executive liaison position or moving forward on that?
So that was just put out, we put it out there to see if we can hire somebody, because that's a big part of actually the spring coming. They do a lot of things to get the park ready for the summertime tourists, so.
Okay. And then just one more thing.
Yes, go ahead.
I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but we just, as a council, wanted to recognize the clerk, because she doesn't have a report, but she doesn't have a section in there, but we just wanted to congratulate the clerk, and this is from the council, for her election as the first vice president of the Alaska Association of Clerks.
Thank you so much.
So congratulations to Brenda
Thank you.
for that amazing accomplishment and for all that she does for the city of Seward and for the municipal clerks of Alaska. And it's really nice to see Brenda at AML having fun with all the other clerks. So we'd like to congratulate her from the council. So thank you for all your work.
Great, and I might just say, I don't have any questions, but very thorough city manager's report, so that's helpful coming into the meeting, so thank you for that. So to the public, if you have any questions about what's going on in the city, call our clerk and she can direct you, or go online and you can get the packet for each meeting and see the reports from administration. Next on
Madam
the,
Mayor?
yes, go ahead.
On the phone, any council members on the phone have questions?
Oh yeah, I forgot you on the phone, sorry. Councilmember Cease, did you have any questions?
I know I'm a long ways away, but like Norm knows that I really like to talk. One thing that I did want to talk about, Norm, the barge that's damaged, over the damage, will they pay for the damage, or is that something our insurance pays for?
So, Madam Mayor, Councilmember Cease. So we are charging them for the lumber and the labor we're kind of taking care of, so it's kind of a multiple thing. Some of the wood was rotten, but not all of it, but they also moored wrong. So, but we're taking steps to correct that, and it's kind of a combined effort to get it fixed, and it's actually repaired. We're just waiting on some more bolts that that should be arriving in the mail any day, so we can get that dock back and functional and full status. We actually got a barge ready to come to it as soon as we finish it.
Did you have a follow-up question, Councilmember Cease?
No, I don't, but thank you, Norm, for the information.
Councilmember Casagrande?
Yes, thank you. My first question would be to IT. I know that I had a problem downloading the packet, and I don't know if it was too big, and I spoke to another council member that expressed they have the exact same issue. So I don't know, it's just really hard right now. I know have to go online and I can't make any of my cool notes in the annotate program that we have. So I'm kind of old school, but still electronically. If we could figure out what that issue is, that would be awesome. And then I also have a question. I see the finance director is there. I have a question to the finance director of a laydown, searching through legislative history. I was trying to figure out the total amount awarded in CARES money that the city has received thus far. And there's a laydown dated October 26, 2020, says that we've received 3 disbursements totaling $330,531.63. Is that the total amount of disbursement, or is the T9 grant funds included in that, and are the CTV grant funds included in that, or is that just the money that we received in resolution 2020-051?
I can learn to understand you much better if I can get familiar with the way you talk. I need your
Got it. Thanks.
Well, sorry, Councilmember Casagrande, we had equipment malfunction. I'll turn it over to administration.
I can learn to understand.
Sorry. I don't understand it.
Councilmember Casagrande, yes, the 5330, 53163. That was just the federal award amount through the state. That does not include the borough funds or the CPV funds.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And so now I've learned my lesson. I'm always going to ask for comments on the phone first or they get forgotten. Did you have another question, Councilmember Casagrande?
No, I think that clarifies it. I guess it's not a question, it's so much maybe more of a direction. If I can get the blessings of council to please ask administration to give us a complete detailed breakdown of all the CARES grant money received, the federal, the Kenai Peninsula Borough, and the CPD, with a breakdown of how all of that was dispersed and spent, and if we could get it by the end of the week, just so that we can be aware of where we're at before the end of the year. That'd be great. Thank you.
So to administration, I know you would have pretty close to that because you're making grant reports.
Right. It wouldn't be exact, but we could get close.
Okay, and it wouldn't be exact because we'd still be spending however the funds today get allocated, is that correct?
Correct, yeah, and whatever happens throughout the rest of the year.
Okay, so Councilmember Casagrande, by the end of the week, they can give us, sounds like, spending to, actually all the acceptance and then the spending to date.
Correct.
Would that meet your request?
Just to clarify, what I'm looking for is all the money received and the spending to date, and then the only money that would be left is what still needs to be spent.
Yeah. So the third piece would be what has been allocated.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Did you have anything else?
No, that's it, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we can move on unless that started anything. Okay, great, thank you. Next is other reports and announcements. Alaska Municipal League AML conference reports from council members who attended classes via Zoom. I'll check with the folks on the phone too. If Councilmember Cease, did you have any comments from AML attendance via Zoom?
No, I didn't attend any of them, sorry.
Oh no, that's okay, thank you. And Councilmember Casagrande, did you have any, were you able to attend any of those?
I did not, thank you.
Thank you. I'll look around the room. Councilmember Osenga, did you have anything to report?
Did not.
Councilmember Damas?
I did not. I attended the newly
You did?
the
Oh,
newly
good.
elected officials conference. Learned a lot. I think I gave a couple comments on that the last meeting.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Councilmember McClure? Vice Mayor Buckland? No. I know it's an interesting time of year. I just have quick few things. I did think that I did pop into a couple of the newly elected, because I thought that was very interesting. The one I really thought was well done was the roles and responsibilities of municipal officers. And for the rest of council, all of these are online. So, you know, I might just remind the public that for one flat fee, we were able to open up attendance to AML, to our boards and commissions, which they've always asked for, to our administration, and now we have access to those. I did attend the Hot Wash Coordinated Pandemic Response, so it was very interesting to hear how other municipalities responded and how they set up their structure. The CIP list management was well done. I did attend manager evaluations. There were 2 at that time, and I chose to attend the manager evaluations. And then I also attended Leading Through Change, which was a really good exercise. I won't keep talking about all the other ones, but I will say I did attend portions of the Alaska Conference of Mayor, and that was also very well done. So mayors had different comments, and the online sales tax program's going well, and then at the business meeting, there's a number of resolutions. I was writing them down as I went, but there's over 20. So if you go online at AML, it shows you all the resolutions that are being supported by that group. So that's all I have. But I like the format. I hope that next year we're able to. I feel like that's a big cost savings for municipalities. Next is presentations, U.S. Coast Guard home porting the fast response cutter at the Seward Marine Industrial Center by David Brumley. And the city clerk will get him on the phone.
Yeah, I'm here now.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
Great, thank
Can
you.
you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. And we have the packet in front of us that has your slides that you provided.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate allowing me to speak here. We're really excited about working with the city of Seward. We've been for a long time good partners and a good part of the community, and we want to keep that. And I've been working with, you got a really good harbor master there, Mr. Regis, and we've been having some good conversations about what might work. And I think we've identified a good location there. As many of you know, let me back up here. I apologize. I tend to leap a little bit before I get going. My name is David Brumley. I work with the Coast Guard. I'm a lead real property specialist. Excuse me. I manage and have a team of real property folks. We manage all the real estate for the Coast Guard on the Pacific area, from Alaska all the way down to the Pacific Islands and Hawaii and so forth. And so we got a lot of these FRCs, and we've got a lot of places to put them, and Seward is one of those places that we're looking to try to get a permanent location for there. And just going through the slides, I wanted just to give some examples. This is what we did in Los Angeles. These are just renderings, but I was trying to get the actual current pictures. We don't have those currently, but we will in the future. With the buildings and so forth. That's what the first picture, FRC home port, kind of an example of what the FRCs look like. The second one, this is one of the drawings of an elevation of the building that we built out there in Los Angeles. We'd be looking to put something similar. Obviously, we're not that far down the road yet with this place, so we have our designers will put together something that would work within the location we put there in Seward. And then the final page there will be, we've identified at your Seward Marine Industrial Center there, an acre and a half, we believe about an acre and a half. Mr. Regis has been kind enough to go out and start doing some surveys, and then I got some folks that have leasing land there and helping them move around to kind of get that isolated. That we believe would work really well to put the FRC in that location. We have a good building that would provide for administration and some maintenance there, a little parking area and so forth for the folks. And then we have a ramp coming off of it. It's kind of small. I don't know how well it came off for you folks, but for stands to pull out equipment off the FRCs, and then we will actually have a deck to walk out to the main dock out there. So like I said, we're really excited about this. What I talked with Mr. Regis about is working something out, and that's the key thing here. My bosses have come to me and said, David, try to talk with the folks in Seward. I wish I could come down there. Obviously, we're all fighting zombies out there. Otherwise, I'd be up there in person just to talk with you and meet with everybody. But I look forward to do that in the future. And the one thing that they put down for the funding on this is they don't want us to lease any land. Now, I've talked with Mr. Regis. I said, we're real flexible. We understand that can be kind of a hot point for folks. We need to have a permanent interest in the land that we build the buildings. And I'm not looking for, at this juncture, we're not looking to negotiate things or anything like that, or, formal resolutions. But we just wanted to get a good understanding from the leadership at Seward that if I leave this meeting today and I talk to my boss and say, I believe we can work with the folks here and come to a good agreement on a deal, a reasonable, fair deal with the folks, that they would be understanding of that they're willing to then take that up to the folks at the headquarters and start the process of formally moving forward to approve this project in Seward. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. Open to questions, dialogue, what have you. Once again, I appreciate all the time that Mr. Regis has given on this. He's a great guy to see folks. And so forth. So that's kind of what I have to bring to the table, and open to questions and how I can help.
I thank you very much. I will say Seward is very excited to have the FRC home ported here, and we're excited for the second one also. I do have a question for you. With the request to purchase as opposed to lease potentially, even within that purchase agreement, is there the ability to have a reversionary clause? God forbid that, the Coast Guard in 100 years pulls out of Seward, we would want to use that valuable marine land.
And I understand that. And the key piece for the Coast Guard is a permanent interest. What that vehicle looks like, what that instrument looks like, we are open to negotiation on that. Obviously, at this juncture, I don't have approval to start negotiations yet, but I would be the one who would be, we have a whole team, but I'd be the one leading that. But in terms of for reversionary clauses, having deed restrictions, those type of things, all those things can be on the table to discuss and see what would be the right fit for both the Coast Guard and the city.
Okay, thank you. I'll check for questions on the phone first. Councilmember Cease, do you have any questions?
No, I don't, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Casagrande?
Yeah, I was just wondering, how many new people does an FRC bring to Seward?
The total is about 23 folks, so it'll be, I think there's 3 or 4 more new folks that come with it. That's a good question. I don't remember between them. I'm saying that if there's new administrators. I know that the team is about equal because there's the new technology allows them to do more with less, if you will. I believe there's a couple of additional administrative folks. So good question. I can get that answer for you.
Thank you. Councilmember Casagrande, did you have a follow-up or another question?
No, thank you.
Thank you. I'll look to the room. Councilmember Osenga?
No questions.
Councilmember Demas?
No, thank you.
Vice Mayor Baclaran?
I just wanted to say thank you so much. This is Vice Mayor Bachlan. We are really excited that the Coast Guard wants to take a long-term interest in Seward, and we are very excited to work with our harbor master and our acting city manager right now, Mr. Regis, and he is working very hard with the previous administration and the current administration to really make this happen. And we're looking forward to negotiations in the future, and we really want to welcome you here in Seward.
So all of all of that being said, I think we're in the same position you are, is that we have not taken official position, but, you know, as I look around the room and just interpreting folks on the phone, I think we're very open to negotiating and making sure that the FRC is able to come. And if there's anyone on council that disagrees with that, I'll pause to let them speak up. Okay, and hearing none, is that adequate for you to start moving forward?
That's perfect. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's exactly what I needed for today. I appreciate everybody's time. I know this is valuable for everybody, and like I said, we're really looking forward to having a long-term relationship with the folks there. So I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for your time on the phone today, and thank you for the diagrams included in our packet. Those were very helpful.
You're welcome.
Have a good day, sir.
Okay. Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Next, we have public hearings. The first one is ordinance 2020-014. Madam Clerk, could you read the title into the record, please?
Emergency ordinance 2020-014 is temporarily adopting City Council emergency regulations requiring facial coverings inside buildings open to the public when 6 feet of distance from other individuals cannot be maintained in response to the rapid increase in COVID-19 cases within the City of Seward.
Okay, and I'm looking for a motion and a second, please.
I move to adopt resolution 2020-014.
I'll second it.
Great, and so at this point, administration, if you have any comments, we'll turn to you, and then we'll go to the public hearing, and then we'll come back if we have questions. But I'll go to you, acting city manager.
Yes, Madam Mayor, so we bring this back before you because it actually expires, the one you passed last council meeting expires on the 25th at midnight. And so since there is no 21st council meeting, that's why it was brought to you before tonight, so we can keep the mask mandate going for doing 60 days instead of 30 to just kind of spread things out. We'll probably have to come back with it again, but we just want to bring it before you.
Great, thank you very much. So I am going to open up the public hearing. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone signed in to call, or are there comments to read?
Madam Mayor, we only have one citizen with comments.
Okay.
From Lori Landstrom. Dear City Council members, I applaud you for continuing to bring up and pass a mask mandate for Seward. As a healthcare provider, I am shocked that people continue to oppose it. New studies come out monthly showing the effectiveness of various mask types. I again fully support a mask mandate for Seward. A mask mandate continues to work for our community, as evidenced by the statistics in the letter from Jonathan King, consulting economist. Our positive case numbers drop substantially every time you put a mask mandate in place. Thank you for helping decrease the burden on our local healthcare system. We are not through this yet, but we are getting so close. Personally, I am learning as much as I can about the COVID-19 vaccinations and plan to get my vaccine as soon as I am able. Together we can make a difference. Thank you for supporting and promoting a mask mandate. Lori Landstrom.
Great, and just to confirm, you said that was the only comments?
It is.
And no phone calls?
Correct.
Great, thank you. I'm going to close the public hearing. So I'll check and see if there's discussion from council, and I will again start off with the phone. Sorry, folks in the room. Councilmember Cease, did you have any comments or questions?
No questions, but I'm just so glad that hopefully we pass this. I think it's very dangerous to be out there in the public without one.
Thank you. Councilmember Casa. Thank you. Councilmember Casagrande?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to strike 60 days in section 4 and change it to 30.
I'll second that.
Did you want to speak to your motion?
Sure, I can speak to that. I'm just a creature of optimism, and I want to say that, you know, this will be behind us in 30 days and not think of it in 60 days, and maybe that's just overly optimistic, but this can also come forward again for another 30 days, and you know, it's not very time consuming. It seems to go by quick.
Okay, Councilmember DeMoss, did you want to make comments?
I would say that I just feel everything is changing so quickly, and it is looking really positive, and I agree that it's easy enough just to bring it back in another 30 days once expired.
The council, is there anyone in council chambers that would like to make any comments? Councilmember Osenga?
My only concern about that is the way that our meetings lay out for 30 days' time as far as from this meeting to the next. 60 days, I mean, we can always, if things get better, we can always just drop it. 60 days makes sense to me because then we're not having to have it get close to drop before our next meeting and then try to scurry up to get it in, or it just seems like it's not that big a deal to drop it, so I would say 60 days there's nothing wrong with it, because we can always just drop it if we decide that that we're sitting pretty and everything's going hunky-dory.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Councilmember?
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
I have one.
Sue speaking, then I'll call on you, Councilmember Cease.
I was just.
Okay, the thing is, when would this 30 days, if it was another 30 days, doesn't that extend at the end of our 30 days, this last one that we did, like at Christmas time?
Yeah, so this one will take effect December 25th, and 30 days from that would be on or about January 24th or 25th, I would imagine. 24th.
I think I would go with that one then too.
Okay. I'll let Councilmember McClure speak.
What I was just saying was that I think I do agree with Councilmember Osenga that it's easy enough to cancel it if suddenly we don't have cases and we don't need it. But to try to get it squeezed in, like, I don't know. I think 60 days is fine.
Let's vote on the amendment.
Voting on the amendment to strike 60 days and replace it with 30 days. Bacon?
No.
Osenga?
No.
Demas?
Yes.
McClure?
No.
Casagranda?
Yes.
Cease?
Yes.
Mayor Terry?
No.
That amendment has failed.
Great, so now the main ordinance is back on the floor. I'll check with Councilmember Casagrande. Did you have any further comments?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. I'll look to the dais. Is there anyone that would like to speak to the ordinance? I have some comments. I just want to say we have elementary schools starting up in January, but we just have part-time middle school and high school. I'd like to see those schools back full-time, and if myself wearing a mask helps facilitate that, I'm happy to do that. I think having a mask mandate is the least restrictive that we can do and to keep our businesses open, which is also important. So I will be voting in favor of this ordinance. And I'll look around to see if there's any other. Madam Clerk, I think we're ready for a vote.
Voting on the enactment of emergency ordinance 2020-014, Bacon?
Yes.
Demas?
Yes.
Casagranda?
Yes.
Cease?
Yes.
McClure?
Yes.
Osenga?
Yes.
Mayor Terry?
Yes.
That ordinance is enacted.
Thank you. There's no unfinished business. We are down to new business. The first is ordinances for introduction only, and that's ordinance 2020-015, and we need a motion to introduce. I'm sorry.
Can I read the title?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Ordinance 2020-015 is amending the land use plan and rezoning lots 15A and 15B of Jesse Lee Heights subdivision, addition number 4, with the physical address of 101 and 105 Benson Drive, from multifamily residential to park.
And so now I'm looking for a motion for introduction.
I move to adopt resolution 2020-015.
Is there a second?
I second the introduction.
And it's an introduction, sorry. So it is on the floor to administration. I know that the planner is not here, but I wonder if you could just outline quickly what is happening.
Mayor Terry, I'm on the.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
Oh, great.
that's what I was
Oh,
gonna
thank
tell you,
you.
that
Okay, excuse me, Community Development Director, I'll turn it over to you, please.
So the resolution in front of you tonight for introduction is a resolution that is brought forward by Planning and Zoning and by the Community Development Department to rezone the former site of the Jesse Lee home into park. I know that there is some question revolving around the grant in general that we are working on for the hazard mitigation and the memorial of the possible memorial being built for the Jesse Lee home property. And in 2018, and it is a grant designating the approval of, that was done by Chris Ersinger, the previous finance director, as well as Jeff Bridges, the previous interim city manager. And I've had it included in the packet for you also, just so that you can see that the project description does not mention to put it as commercially viable. We did go to the public with a survey, and those are also included in your packet of what the citizens would like to see and the possibilities that are, endless with a park designation. There's been a lot of questions regarding and comments regarding, the possible site of a city center, a community center that's available for the children and the kids in our community. And those are all doable in a park situation. Just want to make sure that, anybody that looks at the park designation can see that all of these things are either outright approved and or they are also by conditional use permit. It went into great detail at the planning and zoning meeting. It was approved at the beginning of this month, and I can answer any questions that any of the council members may have.
Thank you. I'll start with folks on the phone. Councilmember Cease, did you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Councilmember Casagrande?
I just would like to clarify that a community center is permitted in the park designation, and then I have a follow-up question or comment to that. Yes, Madam Mayor, through to Councilmember Casagrande, it is approved by a conditional use permit. There were different descriptions for a community center, and those are listed in the land use.
Thank you. Councilmember Casagrande, follow-up?
Okay, I'd just like to say, my only concern is with COVID and with public meetings being difficult to access, that this seems to be moving really, really fast. And I just hope that the city is setting a precedent for all other people that apply for a variance or a code change to change zoning, that we can work as efficiently for our citizens as we can for ourselves.
Thank you. I'll look to folks inside council chambers. Councilmember McClure.
Well, I watched your work session and meeting, but just for the public, could you say, could you tell what the final vote was amongst the planning and zoning commissioners on this?
Yes, Madam Mayor, to McClure. We had 6 people present, commissioners present. It was a vote of 5 yeses and 1 no.
Thank you.
And then Councilmember Buckland, you did pull it off consent, so I'm sure you have comments.
Yeah, I just wondered what the timeliness of this was to have this done so quickly and then rather wait. I also, in light of the other comments and recent information that was provided, was wondering about sending this back to P&Z for more consideration.
So as far as the reason that I know that it feels that it's moving fast, it's the timeline that's on the grant fund. The way that the city works, conditional use permits and or just a rezone can take anywhere between a month to 2 months to 3 months, depending on what it is and what it involves. If you look at the way that we're standing right now on the project, we were pushed back a little over 30 plus days. That did put a huge time restraint on the project even being completed. You know, the timeline originally had us done by the end of November and final cleanup and ground cleared by the end of December. As you can see, anybody that drives by there can see that the property is not complete. We are still removing and starting the process, grind down the concrete. But with the weather and the delays that have been involved with the original setback, we are looking at not finishing possibly through the end of January. And then if it is voted to be a park or whatever the council and community decides that they want done with the property, then we have a very short timeline to be able to move those things either through planning and zoning and or through the council. You know, you look at this being introduced tonight, it doesn't get heard back in front of the public until January 11th again. And at that time, it can also be, you know, voted to be reheard, and that could possibly put us to the end of January, beginning of February. And with any type of construction that needs to be done, can hinder the timeline of June 30th for the funds to be used.
Thank you. Let me check. Did I see?
It's a follow-up.
Okay, follow-up.
So a follow-up on that, is there any ability to ask the state, because of the extenuating circumstances that have already occurred, to ask for an extension on that deadline?
Madam Mayor, to Vice Mayor Gafon, we have reached out to the state and have been told that the deadline is the 30th. I can, you know, reach out again and see if we can extend it. I've done that multiple times.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments? I might, council member.
I have a couple questions. I guess, let's see. If the funds are due by June 30th, are they, we have to have those spent by June 30th, the remainder of the grant funds. Do they just need to be dedicated by that day for what we are going to spend them on, or do they actually have to be spent? And also, could you tell us where we're at with how much we've spent on the demolition and what we have left so far at this point?
Madam Mayor, to Council Member DeMont, we do not have a number right now for, we've got work orders, but we have not received an invoice or any overages at this time. The original amount was over $400,000. And then with the extension of time that we've had, I'm sure we will have work order changes or change orders. But at this time, I don't have an actual number because we have not been billed for it. And yes, the grant funds have to be used, not dedicated, used.
Okay. One more question, thank you. I also am wondering, I was at the work session in the meeting when this was discussed, and I think there was quite a bit of back and forth and quite a bit of comments from commissioners on what the urgency was with the rezone and why we had to do that right now. I believe that there was some impression given to those commissioners that if they didn't rezone it to park, that the city could sell that land off for multifamily. And I believe that that is why at least one of the commissioners voted to pass this in fear of multifamily going in. I personally feel it's a little, there's just a sense of urgency to rezoning the park, or rezoning the land to park a little bit. It's moving a little bit quickly, and I guess I just wonder if that's something that we need to consider when we know what we're going to actually be doing with the land.
And one of the answers to that question that I gave the night of
the planning and zoning meeting is, if council wants to rezone it to anything else, community development will do whatever council and planning and zoning wants us to do. My strong stress was that in order to build a memorial, if you want it on the site, it has to be rezoned as park to follow our own code.
Okay, thank you so much.
I just have one comment. I'm happy to introduce this because I'm interested to hear what the public hearing comments from the public will be on January 11th and consider perhaps other avenues at that time. But I'm going to be voting in favor just for the introduction. Madam Clerk, could we call for a vote, please?
Voting on the introduction of ordinance 2020-015. Cease.
Yes.
Casagranda.
Yes.
Demas.
No.
Osenga.
Yes.
Bachwan.
Yes.
McClure.
Yes.
Mayor Terry.
Yes.
That ordinance is introduced and will come for public hearing and enactment on January 11th, 2021.
Great, thank you. Next on the agenda is Resolution 2020-094. Could you read the title into the agenda, and then we're going to hold off before we get a motion.
Resolution 2020-094 is accepting CARES Act grant funds in the amount of $1,336,006 and distributing half to businesses that received round 1 grant funds previously and half to CARES eligible City of Seward payroll and appropriating funds.
So I'm going to kick this off by handing the dais to the Vice Mayor. And I'm going to say I do not have a conflict of interest, but I wanted to have on the record that the Alaska Railroad received federal CARES Act money through the Federal Transportation Administration, and that was for infrastructure, pre-planned infrastructure. So I just wanted to disclose that and just get a ruling from the Vice Mayor.
I will rule that you do not have a conflict of interest, and I'll pass the gavel back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have also, this is Steve, and I have something to say.
Yes?
I don't feel I have a conflict of interest, but I might. I am on the board, not on the board. I am an investor in Big Marathon Sweet Darling. I have no beneficial stuff. I just invested in this stuff so he could use it. So I don't know if that would be a conflict of interest or not.
Just let me ask you a question. So you're requiring payment for your investment or any of that, that won't change one way or the other, is that correct?
Correct. It has nothing to do with me getting any more money. And before, the attorney thought I was working for Pam's Bookkeeping, and the letter I sent, I don't work for her. I did volunteer work for one of her clients, and that in the last 2 years, but I'm not on her payroll, and I haven't gotten paid for it.
Okay, well,
So that is not a conflict of interest.
Okay, based on that, I'm going to rule you do not have a conflict of interest. Are there any other?
Okay, thank you.
I was
I
planning
have
on,
a conflict of interest. This is Councilmember Casagranda.
Yes?
I have a huge, substantial conflict of interest because I will benefit with the tiers designated a good amount of money. So I would like to declare my conflict of interest.
Councilmember Costa?
Oh, and I'm the owner of the business that will be benefiting.
That was my question. Thank you for clarifying. So I am going to declare that you do have a conflict of interest, and based on that, you can't walk out of the room, but we'll just have you be quiet until this resolution, until we've completed our action on this resolution, and I'm going to declare that you do have a conflict. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
If I object to the conflict,
Then everyone will vote on it.
okay,
Okay.
I would like to object to the conflict
Okay.
of interest.
So I believe we don't need a second. Is that correct? To an objection?
I'm sorry, I'm not prepared to answer that.
Okay. I think we just have to go with the conflict, a question on the conflict. So I'll let you speak as to why you don't think there's a conflict.
The reason why I do not believe that is a conflict is, I know that through the lawyer's advice that it was. I just would like to state this so that the public knows that there was talk about, because all of this funding was large and there was numerous people involved in the funding, that certain parties were not thought of as conflict of interest, because as long as no alterations were made to the resolution that included specific businesses. Like if I have a food truck and I say I want food trucks to get $5,000 more than everyone else, that would be where the conflict was, because there was a wide range of businesses receiving the money in each pool or each tier that was occurring. So that's why I would disagree to the conflict, but I just wanted that on record to the public that about that conflict.
Okay. Is there any other discussion?
I am planning on declaring a conflict as well, so I don't know if I can comment on this specifically.
So I might say, to handle this maybe the cleanest, we'll let you declare, and then I think the two cases are similar enough that then we'll vote on the conflict of interest for the both at the same time.
I just don't know the best way to handle it, because I also do have to declare a conflict, a possible conflict. I just don't know how to handle the whole thing. And I do believe that at this point, pretty much everyone on the dais, except for the mayor and Councilmember Osenga, does have a conflict. So that would include everyone, because other people have family members who would receive funding. There's potential conflicts for everyone, I think, and that would tangle everything up if we just went through everyone's conflict on this, and that would have had to be everyone not voting.
Well, I will say that the city attorney outlined it pretty well. Madam Clerk, did you bring that email?
I did bring it.
Would you read, because we looked at that pretty close, have the city attorney look at it pretty closely.
Council members that own businesses designated to receive funds have a substantial financial interest and should not participate in consideration of the resolution. Council members employed by a business designated to receive funds do not have a substantial financial interest and should not disclose their connection to the business. A council member whose adult family member owns a business that will receive grant funding does not have an indirect financial interest unless the council member is dependent on the family member for financial support. Whether a council member who has loaned money to a business designated to receive funding has a substantial financial interest depends on the relationship between receipt of grant funds and loan repayment. Is that?
That's what I was looking for.
Covered? Okay.
So, and your argument is that regardless of the city attorney's distinctions, you don't see that there's those distinctions?
I will agree with the city attorney.
Oh. I wasn't asking that sarcastically.
No,
I was trying to clarify. Okay, thank you. So, do you still have, do you still want to vote on the conflict ruling?
No, I'll remove my objection.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Demas?
I would like to declare a conflict. How do I do that?
So could you describe your relationship? Do you work for a company? Do you own a company?
I own a company that will apply for grant funds if they are distributed to small business.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm going to rule that you do have a conflict of interest. And based on our spacing, you know, in the past, you know, we get up and move out of the way. If you just want to stay there and just not participate in the conversation, please. Okay. So I think we're covered. But I'll go ahead and now I'll look for a motion and a second on the resolution title that's been read into the record.
I move to adopt resolution 2020-094.
I'll second it.
Great. And before I turn it over to administration, I just want to frame this discussion, because I want to say that every single person in this room wants to make sure these funds are distributed to the benefit of Seward. We might have different opinions on what that benefit is, but we're all on the same team trying to make sure that these funds are spent the best way. So I just kind of want our discussion to reflect a healthy understanding that having conflict and discussing this issue is good for everyone. Okay. Administration.
Madam Mayor, so we brought this before you, so we got to spend this before the end of the month. And so we come up with a decision to give money back to the businesses that's already been approved, that already received the Phase 1 money. And then when we attended a meeting here the other day, they recommended that the funds go back to first responders, because because they're dealing with the COVID and all the other things. And we're also looking for the future city fund, because it's going to get, next year is going to be really hurting. And also, there's no CPE money next year. We have the shuttle, which is great benefit to all the businesses in Seward. And another thing that's attached to this also is, next year we've got the wage study coming. So, the city funds are going to be hit there. We don't know about cruise ships. We don't know if Canada's going to open up or not. And we also possibly have some water and wastewater things coming up. So some infrastructure stuff that we have to take care of. And I don't know if Stephen has anything more?
No, well, just I guess one point. So Norm was referencing a meeting that he and I and the Deputy Finance Director, Acting Finance Director attended with the Alaska Municipal League. So a lot of other municipalities around the state are finding themselves needing to expend the remainder of their CARES Act funds. Ketchikan's putting $2 million, well, they're bringing a resolution before council, I believe, this week, to put $2 million of additional first responder payroll towards their CARES Act. So Seward's not in a distinct position. I think we should all be proud of the fact that KPED put out a report this afternoon, and I'll provide it to council as soon as possible or appropriate. But Seward thus far has given the most, as a percentage, the most of our funds towards small businesses of any municipality on the peninsula. And we should all be proud of that fact, because we need to stand behind our small businesses. So definitely, we need to be looking to the future and how do we best serve the citizens of this community. There's no one right answer to that. And it's good that council's having a vibrant discussion about how to take care of our small businesses, how to take care of the workers in our community. And like Norm mentioned a moment ago, we've got a lot of big picture. We've got the wage study, which we looked at the numbers today. We haven't concluded negotiations. We're at $397,000 is what the cost to implement is looking like. And that's definitely something that administration is supportive in moving forward with the wage study. So just as this body considers how to best use that remaining $1.3 million, I just echo what the mayor mentioned too. There's no one way to skin a cat. So let's move forward and use this money to most effectively benefit the citizens. So.
Thank you. I guess I'll go to the phones. And Councilmember Cease, did you want to speak to the resolution?
Excuse me, yes, I just have something else, but I feel that if other people, other businesses applied for this buffer money before the time, but after September 3rd, when they run out of money, the state, and I don't feel that all of the extra people that applied for it between the 3rd and the 15th were disqualified. I think that a lot of them qualified for that. I can't say how many, but in my own feeling, I think they did. And I think that some of that money ought to go to them, that because the state ran out of money and we got the money from the Fed. So I think that part of that should go to them so that they can still do it. The city, I know, is hurting for money for payroll and all that. Well, everybody else is too. So I think that we ought to at least pay, by my email, or my letter to the way down, I think that we should not give the city all that money. I think we ought to go with what the 50%, or 50% of it going to the people who had applied, if they had all would have been would go to the state stuff, the state-run programs. So, that's it.
So your
Thank you.
administration wants to, but let me just ask a clarifying question. So you're talking about the businesses within city limits that applied for the State CARES Act program that we're hearing reports that they're gonna run out of funding before everyone that's been approved gets issued their funds. Is that who you're talking about?
Yes, they already did run out of money. They ran out of money on the 3rd of September. And the applications didn't have to be in until the 15th of September. So any of them that they received between that period, if they had, would have been approved, if the state had more money, then they would have got it. But they aren't getting it because they don't have any more money to give out.
Okay, thank you. Were you gonna answer a question? Did you have a?
You want to take that, Sam? Well, I misheard. I didn't know she was talking about the state
Yeah,
funds.
yeah,
I was
that's
just going to say everyone that applied that met the qualifications on our end by the deadline got a grant.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was asking.
Correct, I understand that.
Yeah, I misunderstood you.
Thank you. And administration, that's why I asked. Administration was just trying to understand. Thank you for your clarification. Councilmember Osenga, did you have?
Okay, thank you.
Did you have a comment?
Well, the only thing I was wondering was if a business receives money from the state, I guess I'm trying to figure out, are these the same funds that we're talking about now that we're trying to get out, or were there restrictions or limitations? Were these different pots, or?
So I can speak, they were different maybe administration can, but they were different pots of money. So the state had a CARES Act program for state businesses. So, but a business in Seward could receive cities, we did not restrict, so they could have obtained both pots of money. But that program ran out of money before everyone got, all the applicants were funded.
So they were able to get state and money from us?
Some, but some were, I think Councilmember Cease is speaking to the some that applied, were approved, but there's no funds to actually give them money. Vice Mayor Buckland.
I would like to thank Councilmember Cease for thinking of the businesses who might not have gotten state monies. I do want to say though, with the time restraints that we are working with, it's harder to get that money to people, to create another application process and go through that. So that would be, I understand what she's trying to get at, but it's a really hard way to get money into the local businesses right now. That's why I have brought forward a substitute resolution. And I guess now I would like to motion to adopt the substitute resolution that I provided in the laydown today. And I'm looking for a second.
For lack of a second, I would be more interested in amending this resolution that we have in front of us. If we're going to make some amendments, I'd like to make them to the resolution that we have in our packet. So I'll call for if there's any amendments or any changes to the resolution. Councilmember, or I'm sorry, Vice Mayor.
I move to remove striking the language of the title. To remove and half to CARES eligible City of Seward payroll. Gosh, man, that's a lot. I guess I start again. I move to strike and distributing half to businesses and change that to $1,006,000 to businesses that have received round one grant funds previously, and $307,000 to the Seward Prevention Coalition for the Neighbors Helping Neighbors program, and $29,000 to the Seward Senior Center.
300,000 to sewer prevention?
307,000 to the Sewer Prevention Coalition,
And 27.
and 29,000 to the Seward Senior Center.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll second for discussion, and I'll let you speak to that.
I was very busy on the phone and had some help. We had I had help from Councilmember Demas because we didn't know there was a conflict at that time. So we worked together and very hard to put this together. I would like to say the reason why I'm trying to make these motions for the sake of is, one, my questions to administration were answered. Thank you so much for your help. We did ask the administration if they were in the black, if you'd like to respond to that.
Yeah, so in the email that I sent out to you guys this afternoon, it looks like at the end of November we were at about $500,000 in the black, but like I pointed out, just our 12/11 payroll was $250,000, which is about half of that, and we still have one more payroll to go. So I think we'll be pretty close to breaking even at the end of the year, and that is solely because of the initial payroll allocation in the original CARES Act resolution.
Thank you, Sam, for providing us with a lot of information today on a short notice. I think a break even for the city would be a win for us. Even if we didn't put any money into our reserves, we were not tapping into them at this time. In other talks with administration, there are some ways that we can see some cost savings, either through attrition, renegotiating some contracts, and or through other cost saving measures that we can put through. The one thing that I really do feel and passionate about is that the businesses and the nonprofits had to dig deep, cut their budgets, apply for funding, and really, really search for this money. I believe that this money was meant to go to the people, to the small businesses, to the nonprofits, and help them. A lot of them of which don't have savings accounts like the city and a reserve. And I believe that's what the reserves are for. The reserves are for this rainy day, for a hard time that we're having. And then through the next year, as we rebound or as we get better in the 5-year reset that we're all talking about, put money back into the reserves and to get it built back up. I don't feel that $600,000 compared to a lot of other things that we spend money on is much. And really, when we think about how much money we're expending and giving to these nonprofits, and as well as the businesses, the bulk of it would be the $1 million to the businesses. If we don't support these businesses and we don't help them get through this time and get back open in spring, who's going to pay taxes? Who's going to generate the taxes? If we're not taking care of our people and we're not putting money into the nonprofits to help the people who can't pay their bills, which for the most part, that money is going back to the city to pay utility bills. It's going to local businesses, local landlords to pay their rent, to pay their heating bills. Those things, when we don't help our people and they start moving away, where does our tax base go? So in one way, I thank the mayor for saying we are not all going to agree on things and not going to find same solutions in the problems, but when we look at problems in different ways, do we save the city or do we save the people? And that's where I find myself here, wanting to help and save the people through a program that's really doing direct payments to their landlords, to the city, to Shoreside, or wherever they're paying their utility bills. These are not blank checks that we're giving to people. It's paying their bills, their direct bills. So I really, really want to appeal to the other council members to think on how we can help our community move forward in the most responsible way and still have some responsibility there. So,
Are there any other comments, Councilman?
Councilmember Baclan makes a very good point, many good points there, and I agree with a lot of that. since I'm the one that was on the committee to distribute funds to the nonprofits, there was a comment somewhere along, you did not just make that, but there was a comment, I think in an email or something, that the Prevention Coalition was cut so much. Well, they all were. We could not give all to anyone. And so there were, you know, askings about what Prevention Coalition asked from other entities that we cut substantially too. And senior center included, you know. It's too late in the game. We have to, if the public didn't realize, we have to get this money spent by the end of this month. I mean, we don't have time to refigure this. So I'm really torn, I guess is what I'm saying, because if indeed the Prevention Coalition would be making exact payments to people for things like you're saying, I mean, that was one of their options. And I know what the senior center is doing. That sounds really good. And if we are in financial situation for the city that is even marginally break even, you know, this is a really tough decision because we have a responsibility to the citizens to run the city too, you know, so it's just tough. I'm just speaking that I'm conflicted there, but I hear you loudly, okay? And so that's pretty much what I have to say right now.
Councilmember Osenga?
I would agree with Councilmember McClure. I also am conflicted on this, and yes, you did bring up, Councilmember or Vice Mayor Baclan did bring up some great things. I do, though, believe that right now is not the time to look and say, oh, we're doing really well when we are a little unsure of what's going to happen in the first quarter, the second quarter, and the third quarter of next year. I would like to say that we should take care of the city, and I would be more than willing to support the 50-50 with the businesses and then the city payroll. I'm just afraid that if we put on our rose-colored glasses and look at the future and decide that everything's going to be great, and then all of a sudden everything's not so great, we're going to find ourselves in a hole that we're going to have to dig ourselves out of, especially since we do have a wage study that we're possibly going to implement in the future, or that we are trying to implement, I should say. So I am more in favor of the 50-50 right now. And I understand businesses, I understand the nonprofits, I understand that people want to do things, and it is hard, I agree.
I'll let you make a comment. I have a comment, but I'll let you respond.
Just in a follow-up to Councilmember Osenga, I do appreciate your comments. One of the things that we have done recently, and I would like to point out, is that we have raised the camping fees for the summer, which will bring another $900,000 into our budget. And I think now, thanks to the work of the harbor master and this acting city manager, bringing in possibly more Coast Guard opportunities and other revenue streams that are coming into the city, I think we are in the way of growth. We are standing on the precipice of growth. I do think, you know, if even offsetting the budget for next year with the campground fees at $900,000, you know, we're going back into mid-cycle budget to even, you know, take more look at what we can do to either have more cost savings or work on balancing that budget a little bit more. We have another opportunity to do that through the mid-cycle budget process. So I would implore you to consider that as well.
I'll let you go.
I just want to address the camping fees thing. So that was, the $900,000 was based off of 2019 camper nights actuals. Raising the prices, we don't know who's actually going to come and pay that, and then we don't know what camper nights are going to look like in 2021 and 2022. So I wouldn't bank on $900,000 extra revenue. I just want to throw that out there.
So because we could still be every other site for COVID.
Correct. And you know, people may not want to pay that much and not come. I mean, who knows?
I just want citizens to hear that, you know, the city is also police and fire. Like, I support our police and fire. I support our roads getting plowed. You can't get to businesses without the roads being plowed. So there's this symbiotic relationship. You know, we need a city that serves the citizens. That's why we have a municipality. But we also, I think City Hall, or, you know, this building needs to realize that we don't have to provide those services unless we have healthy businesses. So both those things have to happen. You know, the city's paychecks, our sales tax, our property tax. I do think that we could find more money to provide to businesses and also nonprofits. I'm going to vote against this specific amendment because my concerns are that the other nonprofits were not perhaps given the same opportunity to put in funding requests. So some of the other nonprofits that were provided with funds were Boys and Girls Club, and I know parents are relying on the Boys and Girls Club, like them having spots. He will provide. I know that the food bank is providing more meals than ever. CVU Community Services answering mental health issues. American Legion, hot meals every night. Hospice. So I'm going to vote against this, and I'll either look for a follow-up motion or make one myself. Go ahead.
I would be willing to make a secondary motion to send the grant funding if we took the 1 million and sent the remainder 336,000 back to, I'm sorry, the $336,000 back to the committee, and then schedule a special meeting to approve the nonprofits committee's recommendation.
Who was your second?
If we could do that as a separate, that's a pretty substantial change.
Okay. So let's take up the motion on the floor.
Voting on the motion to amend 1,006,000 to round one business, 307,000 to Seward Prevention Coalition, 29,000 to Seward Senior Center. Osenga?
No.
Cease?
No.
Bachlan?
Yes.
McClure?
No.
Mayor Terry?
No.
Okay, that amendment has failed.
Okay, I'd like to make an amendment to go with, this is Cheryl, and I'd like to make an amendment of the substitute resolution that I sent in, that the people who did qualify, and I know that it's too hard, but it's going to be kind of the same thing on a lot of it. If they already probably have a copy of what they sent to the state for their stuff, and they didn't get a dime because of the fact that they ran out of money, I think that if we give them 1 week to get that in, and if we have that kind of money, even if we have to do it
Okay, so
percentage-wise.
Councilmember Cease, let's just do the motion and then I'll let you go back and explain it. I know it's hard being on the phone.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, I made the motion.
Okay, can you repeat
Do
your
I have to
motion?
read it?
Yeah.
This resolution 2020-094, resolution for the City Council of the City of Seward, Alaska, accepting CARES Act grant funds from the Kenai Peninsula Borough in the amount of $1,400 and distributing the unspent CARES Act funds as follows. $668,003 to businesses that received phase 1, just a minute, my eyes are getting tired. Phase 1 grant funds previously, and the other $334,001.05 to the nonprofit reviewing the community distribution, and $334,000 to the qualified applicants that did not receive money from the state of Alaska, CARES money, due to lack of funding and appropriating funds.
Okay, that's gonna die due to lack of a second. Did you have?
No.
you want to make a motion? You want me to make a motion?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I will throw out there, in the title, strike distributing half, and, strike half and say, and distributing $1,006,000 to businesses that received round one grant funds previously. And, I think the amount is, $336, to, previously funded nonprofits.
I'll second.
Again, I'll just reiterate, prior to, I think there's a number of worthy nonprofits that are fielding a number of valuable resources for the community. Councilmember?
Yeah, it's been seconded, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That sounds wonderful. I'm wondering, since we have the record of the monies that were given to those nonprofits, could we do a proportional thing just like with the businesses?
Yep.
And give to each proportionally out of that amount, and then that would free up us from having to meet and make these horrible decisions with the rest of the money?
Yep.
I mean, if that's possible, and you're saying
Yeah.
yes,
Mhm.
I mean, that's all I want to know.
I appreciate that move. However, I think due to the proposals of what they had received, there was different, things that they were applying for. So some, and I don't want to single anybody out, but some had gotten the full amount they had asked for, and some did not. So there might have been other ones that have not, that might have more of a need. I would like to see it go back to the committees for the committee to make a decision, and then we can have a special meeting to approve it. But
So how about this, we'll see if the motion even passes, and then we'll discuss how, okay. But I'll let Councilmember Osinga
No.
has a comment.
No.
Okay. So, let's call for a vote.
Voting on the amendment to furnish $1,006,000 to round one business and $336,000 to nonprofits. Lackawanna,
yes.
Cease,
Yes.
McClure,
Yes.
Bosenga,
No.
Mayor Terry.
Yes.
That motion to amend has been approved.
So the other thing that needs to happen then is, prior to us discussing how that gets decided, is we need to amend the rest of this resolution to follow with the new title. I don't know how best to do that, if we want to take a break for 5 minutes and do that, and then come back and then make a decision on how to get the nonprofit money out. Is that something? Should we take a 5-minute break and look at the clerk with how the rest needs to change, or?
I'm guessing that the tier 1 through 5 is based on the formula that was applied previously.
That was the
And so,
On the substitute resolution, it provides it, but it would just have to be
Yeah, I have
modified
those
for the
numbers for
nonprofit
the $1,006,000.
on my resolution.
Yeah, it doesn't do the tier breakdown.
I have it. Sam has
Oh,
it, yeah,
okay.
Sam gave it to me.
Okay,
earlier.
Yeah.
well, I'll just go to, I'm gonna go ahead and amend, let's clean up what we've done and then we'll talk about the nonprofits. So I'm gonna amend the last whereas clause to read, whereas based on the, yeah, I can, well, there's another whereas, but I'm gonna do this
Yeah.
one first. So the last whereas says, based on the amount of $1,006,000, is that $6, for business allotment, the award amounts are as follows, and then tier 1 is gonna be, thank you. Tier 1 is gonna be $960.31, tier 2 is $3,201.04, tier 3 is $6,402, and, $6,402.09, Tier 4 is $9,603.13, and Tier 5 is $12,804.17. So I'll move that, if that sounds like the right numbers,
They
and
are.
I'll look for a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, and again, so this is just cleaning up, distributing that $1 million to the businesses. I think, Madam Clerk, we can just have a vote.
Voting on that amendment to assign tier 1 through $5, Buckland,
Yes.
Hosenga,
No.
McClure,
Yes.
Cease.
Councilmember Cease?
Sorry, I put it on mute. Yeah, I'm sorry, I put it on mute and then my phone goes black. So, yeah, I agree.
Okay, and Mayor Terry.
Yes.
That amendment has been approved.
And then the fifth whereas, fifth whereas, actually, strike the fourth whereas. Yeah, strike the fourth whereas, and then, the fifth so this will be the same, because it's pretty, strike the fourth whereas, and the fifth whereas will be, whereas the $1,006,000 will be distributed to Seward businesses who previously received round 1 grant funds, and I'll look for a second.
I'll second.
And we'll look for a vote on that.
Voting on the amendment to fix the fifth whereas and strike the fourth whereas. Cease.
Yes.
Hosenga,
No.
Buckland,
Yes.
McClure,
Yes.
and Mayor Terry.
Yes.
That amendment has been approved.
Okay, I think the rest is,
The sections. I'll motion that.
sections. Okay, go ahead.
I'll motion to strike evenly in section 2. And after as follows, $668,003 to personal expense accounts, all the way to and $668,003 to strike that. And I guess that'll be the first part
And
of it.
change.
Oh yeah, and change the end to at the end of First Business Cares Grant Program and $336,000 to pass-through account for the nonprofit.
Yeah, if I could just jump in here and kind of,
Yes.
so, I hate to go back to the title, but if we could accept the actual grant amount from the borough in the title, because the 1336, that's what we have left, not the actual grant amount.
That didn't change, did it? We're on that.
Yeah, so now,
So basically, sorry to interrupt. So we're going to be accepting the Borough CARES Act grant funds in the amount of 1.4 and some change, and distributing the remaining state grant amount of 1336 as follows. Does that make sense?
okay, so,
We're kind of doing a housekeeping thing at the same time.
okay.
I'm sorry, I'm confused.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I hate to confuse everybody,
Okay,
but
so I think, Sam, what you're doing is, since we've opened this up, is you're trying to clean up some paperwork on your part.
correct.
Okay, so we have a semi-motion on the floor. Can we finish that and
Yep.
get back to that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so your motion, Vice Mayor Buckland,
Is section 2 striking, it will be, and then striking evenly, striking 668,003 all the way to 668,003, and then changing the amount to $1,006,000 to pass through payments. And then at the end of that, where it says CARES Grant Program, and $336,000 to pass through account number for Seward nonprofit CARES funding.
I'll second.
Would that be appropriate, Sam?
Yeah, and then those 4 X's, well, is it on there? It would be the same account number.
Okay, so
Okay.
same account number,
Yeah.
just different designation.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Let's call for a vote on that.
Voting on the amendment for section 2, C's,
Yes.
Buckland,
Yes.
McClure,
Yes.
Bosenga,
No.
Mayor Terry.
Yes.
That amendment is approved.
Now I'll turn it over to Acting Finance Director, and you tell us what you would like the title to look like.
Okay, so accepting KPB, well, Borough CARES Act grant funds in the amount of $1,495,170.49.
Okay.
So that's basically, and then I'm gonna change section 1 also. Basically cleaning up what we already did was accepting that funds and distributing them with the nonprofits in the Sea Life Center.
So accepting KPB CARES Act grant funds in the amount of $1,400,170.41.
$1,495,000.
$495.
$170.49.
And 49, excuse me.
And then
And
distributing remaining.
No, and distributing, then we have it outlined in a previous motion.
Okay, but I would define the remaining as the state money, not just saying we're accepting the borough money and we're distributing the remaining state money, the 1,336. Does that make sense?
It still doesn't to me, yes.
Okay, so accepting 1,400,000, okay, so accepting the borough funding, I won't repeat that number, you
Yes.
have it. CARES Act grant funds in the amount, okay, CARES Act grant funds. And, what's the other part?
Madam Mayor,
Yeah,
can I recommend that this get postponed and brought back with a substitute clean resolution from administration
We don't have.
to be approved at a special meeting that we, this is a lot of changes on the floor.
well, let's hold off on that, because we'll talk about the nonprofits first. If we are, if we're distributing some of the funds to, or a percentage of the funds to nonprofits, what we could do is have a committee meeting this week, and I know.
No, I mean, if we
Yeah.
can find those people.
If we can round up a committee meeting this week and then have a meeting to approve those funds and come back for this.
Yeah, I'm just, I don't know how much time, they might need, but a day or two perhaps, just to pull it together and the committee could meet in the meantime, maybe designate.
Yeah, the problem is you're right in saying that the problem is we won't have this approved to even have the committee move forward with those funds. That's gonna be the problem.
Right.
So we won't have a final vote on this to even have the committee meet to know if this passes.
Could we have a meeting on Wednesday?
What are your concerns with the changes to the title now?
That this is a very substantial change to this resolution.
In what way is this substantial or not substantial, would you say? Is it
Defining where the funding stream is coming from and going to and the dollar amounts.
I will say, so the first whereas says, the city recently received 1.4 million in Kenai Peninsula Borough grant funds. So are we just moving that up to the title, but accepting those funds?
Yeah, so accepting the funds and then doing the actual dollar amount, not 1.4 million. That's the borough side. The 1,336 is what's left because of shifting it to the borough. So 1,336 is left of the federal. So basically, we could accept and appropriate and take care of the borough side, and then just appropriate the 1,336 of the remaining funds to wherever you guys decide. So your section 2 is good, and then I have a section 1 that is slightly different.
So, I'm sorry, Sam, would you repeat that, please?
Yeah, so what I'm proposing is accepting the borough money as the full amount. The 1.4 million, it has, you know, some change attached to it. And appropriating it to the pass-through payments based on the nonprofit and the Sea Life Center checks that we already cut. So that's kind of housekeeping, taking care of accepting the grant and appropriating it. And then the secondary would be the remaining federal 1336006, and then appropriating that, which that's already been accepted, so we don't have to do that. We just have to appropriate to the line item of your choosing.
So here's a question though, so we haven't yet accepted the borough funds, do we need to?
Technically, yeah. Yes. So when it first came about, it was thought that it could just replace revenue, and so that wouldn't need to be taken to council and accepted. But since we had to expend it and do nonprofit distribution, that's kind of what we're doing here.
Okay. Well, I'm still confused. Did you have
So
a question?
Sam, I'm sorry, it's getting late, I know for everybody, and I don't have an adding machine right in front of me. But you said the feds had money, we had money left in the feds of $1,336,000.
Yeah, so the
And
second,
also-
sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
The second whereas,
But
just,
then we also received $1,400,000 from the borough.
yeah, so the first whereas
So-
says 1.4 million in borough. The second whereas says we shifted the nonprofit from the federal side to the borough side, leaving 1.336006, which is what we're allocating this evening.
Does that answer your question?
So when we ask, well, I just want to know, so then when we get this printout from you as to where it went, part of that money's going to show up in that then? The difference.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Osenga?
I just had a question. Did you say we have to accept this money now because of what we're doing with it?
Yes.
But before we would have been able to, so do we have, I'm just kind of questioning if we have time to do all this that we're trying to do in 2 weeks with Christmas coming up and maybe people not being here, and are we going to be flexible on our commission or what committee that we form for this? Are we going to, I mean, there's just a lot of questions that have to be dealt with before this even happens, and we have 2 weeks.
Well, I will say, it's not because of what we're doing tonight, it's because
It's just
when you
language.
originally applied for the grant with the borough, it was gonna be straight revenue over. And the borough said, no, we're not gonna fund that,
Right.
we need to fund different things. And so with that whole process, now it sounds like we should have come back and accepted those grant funds.
Correct. And whatever you had decided tonight would have been, it's the same.
Okay.
I'm just doing housekeeping.
Since we're
And
in
this
the middle of
resolution should have been that way in the first place. We just kind of rushed to get it in before the deadline. So that's our bad.
it. Okay. So, you know, it's really not a substantial change, we're just accepting, you think so?
I think it's a
Accepting the
very
grant
substantial
funds?
change. I think it
Accepting
is.
grant funds that we've already spent?
We've already spent.
Yeah, these are grant funds, the borough grant funds have already been spent. That doesn't have anything to do with what we're allocating tonight. What we're allocating tonight is the state funds, correct?
Correct.
So we've already spent those borough funds, so we're cleaning up the fact that we didn't accept those.
Okay, but we're doing it on this resolution that had nothing to do with,
So,
so that's what I'm saying the change is. That's what I'm saying is a drastic change from this original resolution to what we're winding up with now. I would say is a substantial change.
so sounds like we need a special meeting with a different resolution.
I mean, if it can be done, I'm all for doing something, but it's just like the timeline and crunch time.
So if the intent, sorry, could I?
Go ahead, you, please.
So if the intention is to go back to the nonprofit committee, I guess just to take a pause and think about one workaround with regards to the timeline was this created the subcommittee that was.
No, I think, so the timeline I think we're talking about right now is the change to accepting the borough funds.
But with regard to allocation, I guess one workaround would be the committee already reviewed those and allocated based off of need. So when we go back to establishing a timeline for how funds should be allocated, you could use the amounts that were given, and as a proportion of the amount that you're giving to nonprofits, just allocate it based off of those same percentages, because that follows the intent of what the committee was trying to.
That's what I
Is
was
that-
saying. That's what I was saying. right?
Okay.
Or suggesting.
So aside from that though,
I know that's not the.
what I think we're talking about though is the finance director changing to accepting the funds. So do we want to take that off the table and bring that forward as a separate resolution?
We could do that. I would rather try and do it now.
Okay, so then that goes to Councilmember Osenga. How comfortable do you feel if it's a substantial change?
Well, I guess I could live with it, it's just that this is nowhere near what we started with. That's all I'm saying.
Vice Mayor Buckland.
I guess what going back to the other point was that in the first whereas, it did say the city recently received $1.4 million in Kenai Peninsula Borough grant funds. So that could go back, and it says in here accepting CARES Act grant funds. So I think what happened was KPB grant funds was left out.
Yeah, so it's basically adding that, getting the dollar amount on point, and then distributing the remaining to wherever you decide. I know it sounds substantial, but it's really just kind of housekeeping, confusing housekeeping.
Councilmember Osenga.
With all that being said, I can support moving forward with this as long as we're not, as long as we think we have a realistic timeline. I'm fine.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember
I'm just-
McClure? Oh, I just.
I'm fogging up. Sorry.
So I'm going to, with your help, so accepting the Kenai Peninsula Borough CARES Act grant funds in the amount of $1,495,170.49.
Mm-hmm.
And and then the rest, I think we've already amended, because we have and distributing the 1,000,006 and blah, 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 blah.
Yep,
So
that's good.
I'm gonna leave my motion at, what I previously said, and I'll look for a second.
I'll second.
So I'll again say, in this resolution, it says the city recently received the 1.4 million in the Kenai Peninsula Borough grant funds. If we needed to accept those funds, this resolution will do a number of things, but I think those are funds that we've already spent. We've already received the grant funds from the borough. I actually have the grant report on how those were spent somewhere, but they have been received and they have been spent already, correct?
Correct, and I would just point out that it's totally fine for you to accept grants after the fact, as long as you do it sometime in the year. Like, it's not out of the ordinary.
Okay. Are there any other comments?
Yes, I have one.
Yes.
This is Cheryl. Why are they both in the same thing? If we've already, why didn't we just have one resolution to accept the 140,000 or 1.4 million from the borough? And then on the other one, with the leftover money that's from the state, which is $1,336,000. Why isn't that in two different ones? This is very confusing. If we've already spent it, so you gotta add that 140 to the 1,336,000? Am I wrong?
I'll let administration try to answer that.
Yeah, so originally, like the mayor said, it was thought to be revenue that we wouldn't have to take to council. And that's why it didn't come.
What was that?
The grant 1.4 million, the grant 1.4 million was thought to be be able to be replaced revenue, and that's why it wasn't brought to council in the first place. Since then, they had outlined what we could spend it on, and it was basically administering business and nonprofit grants. And so that's why it is included in this resolution. It should have been, I admit it should have been a separate resolution probably earlier on, but we're just trying to clean house and do it all in one resolution right now.
Okay, that makes more sense. I
Okay.
just couldn't figure out why the two were in the same one. It was just, okay, that's all right. Thank you, Sam.
Yep.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Let's vote on that amendment, please.
Voting on the amendment to change the title. That's the scope of the amendment, correct?
Yes.
Okay. McClure,
Yes.
Bosenga,
Yes.
Buckland,
Yes.
Cease,
Yeah,
and Mayor Terry.
Yes.
That amendment is approved.
So then the other thing that we need to address then is the section 1.
Yep, and I have one written out already,
Okay,
if you would like to hear it.
I'm ready.
All right, so the city council hereby authorizes the city manager to accept grant funds in the amount of $1,495,170.49 to state grant revenue account number 80083-0000-4251 and appropriates to pass-through payment account number 80083-0000-7809. So essentially that section takes care of all the KPV accepting, appropriating to that expense account, which ties to the borough grant report that you received. And your section 2 is fine for the remaining.
Okay, I'll make that motion and look for a second.
I'll second it.
Go ahead.
Did you just say section 2? What did you say about section 2?
Section 2 is fine based on your guys' amendment earlier, which is just allocating the remaining amount.
Oh, got it.
So, I have a question with
Yep.
the motion. So is the second whereas clear enough so that when we look at this in 10 years or we get audited, where the last sentence of that second whereas says what shifted the nonprofit, so this talks about what happened to the borough, that we fully expended the 1.4 million received from the borough, and also followed the allowed expenditures assigned by the borough, What remained in the federal grant was $1,336,006. So does that clarify when someone looks back later what this was doing?
In my eyes, yes, but that's just because I know the numbers. I mean, we obviously have all the backup for this, but the difference between the 1,336 and the 1.4 is just that chunk of nonprofit that stayed on the state side because of the
Because we
Sea
had
Life
more
Center.
nonprofit.
Yeah.
So we're speaking to the change in section 1. Is there any further? Councilmember Cease, since you're our numbers gal, do you have any questions about that section 1? It's probably hard to hear, but did you have any further questions?
Section 1, I understand that we got 1.4 and they had already spent.
Okay.
And so then this is what's left between that 1,495,170 and the money that we have left to spend of 1,336,000.
Okay.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct.
Sam?
Yes, I apologize for the confusion.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, could we call for a vote on that amendment?
Voting on the amendment to section 1, Cease,
Yes?
Bosenga,
Yes.
McClure,
Yes.
Buckland,
Yes.
Mayor Terry.
Yes.
That amendment is approved.
Great. Now we're back to the question of how to distribute those nonprofit funds. I am a little worried about time ticking. I do like that idea of proportional, but I know that you have concerns, Vice Mayor. Maybe Councilmember McClure, will you remind me who was on that committee?
Trying to think.
It was Tim Dillon,
Right.
Claire from.
Claire Sullivan from the Legion.
Hillary.
Hillary Bean, and Kim Ryerson,
Kim Ryerson.
and myself.
Okay, I'm assuming
That was it, right? Pretty sure that was it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I put it out of
folks.
my mind.
So, and I don't know if we have all the original applications.
That's what we would need.
We wouldn't expect them to submit a new application. You could review their original applications and what wasn't funded.
But, yeah.
It'd be getting together this week and maybe having a special meeting early next week. And I'll look to finance for a question, then I'll go to you. So if you had, so Monday is the 21st. If
Yes,
you
the
had nonprofit information to cut checks for the 21st, would you be able to get it all out by December 31st?
Absolutely.
Did you have a comment?
No, I appreciate the council waiver.
I still feel that it should be proportional, but I guess if the clerk is willing to call the committee members and try to arrange a time we can meet, I'm obligated to it, I'll do it. The way we did it before, we made our decision, and then the council just approved it without nitpicking each one.
Yeah.
Is that what we can expect, or are we going to go through each one?
I'll let Councilmember Osuna.
So I was able, to get it from administration, I got the nonprofit, I think, was that the payout that we give nonprofits? So looking at the list, it looks like, from what I can just scan it real quick here, it looks like 2 nonprofits basically got almost exactly what they asked for. And after that, everyone else pretty much got less. So it seems to me like if we stuck with this, it wouldn't be that, the people that got pretty much what they were asking for, I'm assuming it wasn't a huge amount. It wasn't like they got $100,000.
Right.
So proportionate doesn't bother me at all, because if we can keep it this way and get this moving exponentially, that'd be great, I think.
Vice Mayor?
Is there any way that we could vote to just approve whatever decision they make and adopt that as our recommendation, as council's recommendation? Whatever the committee decides, council would adopt it as a recommendation?
Yes, you can. I would be willing to do that.
I'd like to motion that the council will accept the proposal from the grant committee, and that would be the final word on the dispersal of the $336,000.
I'll second that.
I'll second it.
I totally agree. I'll let Councilmember push because she's on the committee, but I do want to say somehow I want their final decision to be provided and recorded in council, so it can be looked up later in legislative history.
Yeah, it was before.
Yeah.
So, this is assuming we can get the people together too, which I know some of them are in town, so that's conceivable. Okay.
Right, and that was my point earlier. You're looking at a committee that might not all be here, so.
I think they are.
Well, we can assume that.
Yeah.
Yes, and let's vote on this. I mean, do we need it, this is kind of to this, but do we need to have a backstop if they're not able to get a majority of the committee together that we do proportional?
I'd like to amend my motion that if the committee is unable to meet, then we will distribute the funds proportionally as distributed before.
Thank you. That's good.
Could I ask a question? Just for clarification, proportional based on the ask or proportional based on the give?
The give.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, that's
And
what
then, so there was 15, sorry, is it okay?
Yeah, please.
There was 15 applications the Sea Life Center, the determination was to take that out of the
Yes.
business, and I just wanted, for clarity's sake. Okay, thank you.
We're not including.
Okay, sorry, I just wanted to.
So let's vote on that motion.
Voting on the motion to authorize the committee. Lackawanna,
Yes.
McClure,
Yes.
Cease,
Yes.
Bosenga,
Yes.
Mayor Terry.
Yes.
That motion is approved.
And now that main resolution is on the floor, I am very pleased that we're giving more money to businesses. I'm very pleased that we're giving more money to nonprofits. I just want us, so many times, the city gets a bad rap and people say, don't give more money to the city. When the city, to me, is us providing services. I support our police department, I support our fire department, and I think we all better be on our knees and praying that we rebound quickly with our economy next year, or we might be, I'm hoping that this also keeps businesses open, keeps people employed, and provides services so that we're able to work together. So that trailed off. But Councilmember Cease, did you have any final comments?
No, I didn't, thank you.
I'll look to the room. Are there any final comments before we vote on the resolution as amended? Okay, Madam Clerk?
Voting on resolution 2020-094 as amended. Cease,
Yes.
Lackawanna,
Yes.
McClure,
Yes.
Bosenga,
Yes.
Mayor Terry.
Yes.
That resolution is approved.
Thank you. So I'm going to do we need a break before we bring Councilmember Casagrande and Councilmember Demas back? Does anyone need a break? Are we good? Keep going? Okay, so Councilmember Demas, Councilmember Casagrande, you both are back out of timeout. Thank you for following the rules. Next on the agenda is Resolution 2020-096. Oh, thank you, Administration. Thank you, Sam. Next on the agenda is Resolution 2020-096. Madam Clerk, if you could read the title into the record, please.
Resolution 2020-096 is prohibiting City of Seward employees from bringing pets to work or from having pets in any city-controlled building or premises, with the exception of service animals or persons with disabilities.
I'll move, and I'll look for a second.
I'll second.
Okay, and I'll turn it over to Administration.
Madam Mayor, so this is just for employees not bringing pets. It has nothing to do with the public. I don't know what questions Councilmember Cease had, but
Okay.
she's the one who pulled it off. So you can ask her questions. We can go from there.
I guess the only other thing just to make note of, just to give some background, so this came to some degree at the request of AML-JAA due to a large liability concern. 2017, 2018, I apologize, I don't remember exactly when, but an adjuster was here on city premises, and that representative was bitten by a staff member's dog. Thankfully, that didn't become a larger issue, but that did spur a conversation that since that point in time apparently has been discussed and raised as a concern. And so administration, and this goes back to Jeff Bridges, where there was discussion with the city attorney, and so we're bringing this for you. It's already passed review by the city attorney. It's already been shared with the union, and essentially it's modeled after the state of Alaska's policy. And so as it stands before you, it's to ensure that the city is not exposed to any additional liability. And like I said, we've had legal review, we've had union review, and the intention is to bring us in line with ADA compliance and also current, laws on the books with the state of Alaska. So just to give you some context.
Thank you. Councilmember Cease, you pulled this off the consent agenda. Did you have comments or questions for administration?
Yes, I did. The second whereas, it says that if the animal is listed with requirements deaf, if they don't have a disability and they don't need a service dog, or animal, excuse me, it could be anything, but they do have one that went through all the classes and everything, and they say that they are really for a disability, but the person doesn't have one. Can they have a dog or an animal?
So let me just clarify the question really quick. So you're speaking to the second whereas clause, where it says city employees who request to bring a service animal to the workplace will need to show their service animal meets the requirements. So you're saying the city employee doesn't have to prove they have a disability. They're providing information that their service animal meets the requirements. So you're saying, so what's your question regarding that?
What if the employee doesn't have a disability and just has one of the animals?
So to provide clarification, so ADA says that no one can ask the staff member for documentation. This policy would only cover the service animal. And to be clear, it's not just dogs, it's any animal. But no documentation can or would be requested from the employee. It's simply covering the pet itself.
So to your question, it sounds like administration won't know one way or the other if that person has a disability because they're just providing documentation on the animal.
Correct. I know you can't ask the person, but what if they only have that animal? Does that mean they still can bring that animal in then just because it's certified as a service dog or animal?
I'll let Councilmember Osenga seems like.
There's two different things she's discussing here. A service animal is an animal that is trained to take care of a person with a disability. And I think there's an emotional companion type pet that some people have started bringing into public places. And those don't necessarily need to have, they're not service animals trained as, they're just an emotional companion, I guess. I can't remember the correct term, I'm sorry, but there is a term for it. And a lot of places do not allow emotional animals like that. They'll allow service animals, but not, I believe what she's asking for, and I'm sorry, I cannot remember the correct term for it.
So, and thank you, Councilmember Osenga, for jumping in there. So that does help me understand. So with regard to specificity in this resolution, it's really important that we don't get into the nitty-gritty, that we always have to go back and reference ADA because ADA is constantly being updated. So if there are any changes made to ADA, whether it's for emotional reasons, psychological reasons, or physical reasons, we always need to be in compliance with ADA, and that's why there's not more specificity there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
that was my only question.
Thank you, Councilmember DeMoss.
Well, just to add, I think that there's only very few types of service animals that actually meet those requirements. And if you don't have a disability, you're not going to be spending that kind of money to get that service animal that has those papers under the ADA regulations. So it's not going to just be any person's old dog because they have an emotional issue that they don't have to disclose. So I think that the issue is mute.
That's a good point. Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Madam Clerk, if you could call for the vote, please.
Voting on the approval of Resolution 2020-096, McClure?
Yes.
Casagranda?
Yes.
DeMoss?
Yes.
Cease?
Yes.
Osenga?
Yes.
Bachlan?
Yes.
Mayor Terry?
Yes.
That resolution is approved.
And I do have to apologize to Councilmember Casagranda because I didn't ask you if you had comments under that resolution, so hopefully that was okay. All other new business items were all approved on the consent agenda. In our packet, we have both the October and November city and Providence financials. Councilmember Cease or Councilmember Casagrande, did you have any questions regarding those financials that were provided in our packet?
Not yet, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And then item D, announcing the Sister City video project from Japanese Consulate. Madam Clerk, I know it's in here as an informational item. Is there anything that you need to talk to council regarding, or?
No, I just am planning to, I wanted to make you aware of it, and I'm planning to send it out to the public for any of the families or anyone who has an interest in doing it. The whole community is invited.
Great, that was kind of a cool thing in there. And then next is the city clerk, Brenda Blues, and I'm gonna shamelessly plug you again and be real specific that in our packet is city clerk Brenda Blue was installed as the first vice president of the Alaska Association of Municipal Clerks. And that was actually elected. So it's not like you were appointed, you are elected by your peers, which just really points out your stature within that community. And then my understanding is you'll probably move up first vice president, and then potentially all the way up through.
Right.
Okay, good. Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much. And then
Congratulations.
Thank you.
and then this is the very exciting piece. Can you talk about, so page 247 of the packet, and I know this was joint, administration had a lot to do with this, and then also the clerk's office, IT, and I don't know, Madam Clerk, I guess I'll have you start about the Zoom for city council meetings and work sessions.
Well, between now and the January 11th council meeting, some of you may be asked to participate in testing so that the IT department can iron out some of the bugs. But they have used Zoom with the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they discovered a few things and they smoothed it out. So I think we'll be in good shape by the time this goes around. It's not going to replace, just to Citizen Griswold's comment earlier, it's not going to replace our current practice, it will be in addition to. So people will still be able to submit comments in writing or be called on the phone, but this will be in addition to. They can raise their hand, and IT department is going to actually help facilitate it.
Great, so just to clarify, they can be on a Zoom, like at the borough level, raise their hand and get called on directly for their comments.
Right, yep. We'll have an additional staff person available to help with that.
And how will that look like on our YouTube channel? What will that look like? Will it look like the Brady Bunch? Will the Zoom be on there, or will it be this, or? And maybe that's to be D,
Yeah,
that's fine.
that's a good question.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yep, no worries, thank you. Are there any other questions? I'll go to Councilmember Casagrande. Did you have any questions for the clerk regarding launching Zoom?
No, thank you, and I mostly just a comment, thank you so much for initiating and making it happen, and thank you to IT and everybody involved in making this happen. I know it's really important to the public, and these times are frustrating for everybody, and it will be really good to embrace the public input again.
Thank you. Councilmember Cease, did you have any comments regarding Zoom?
I would just like to say I agree with Chrissy, and I am so happy that it's going to be on. Yeah, that they're finally doing it. Thank you, everyone that's working on it.
Thank you. Any comments here? Okay, next on the agenda is citizen comments. Do we have folks signed up to comments?
Madam Mayor, we have one person signed up, and that is Becky Dunn. Thank you.
Hello?
Hello? Hi Becky, you're with council. You have 5 minutes for citizen comments.
I was an investment in Tacitus. Well, I'm just gonna go ahead and pass on this. I don't have my written
Okay.
notes in front of me. I'll put it down. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Becky. Have a good night. So just so you know, just...
Hey, I do want to make sure Brenda has my right number though, because in the beginning, when I was at the meeting, it said that the radio was notified that the meeting was started. I just knew it was something that separate, but we weren't notified by anybody. So the number that you just called me on is the one text to notify us when you go on break or get back from break, or there's a delay too in the radio and real life time, so it's nice to get a text so that if
Great, thank you. And just from this, our plan, since I have you on the phone, our plan is to go right into the special meeting following this, unless we're gonna take a break.
Oh, there's a special meeting.
Yeah, there's a special,
I think we're not yet, right?
okay, there's a special meeting following, but we're gonna take a 5-minute break.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay, next. Is there anyone else signed up?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Next on the agenda is council administration comments. I'll start with the administration.
Council, very tough night. I'm glad we came to something for the businesses in Seward. And for council members, if you want to watch, so PACCAB is going to do a Zoom meeting at noon on Wednesday for our work session. So you might want to watch to see how that works out. You can see the other side of it, I guess. Stevie, do you have anything else?
No, just last meeting of 2020. I just want to say thank you to everybody in this room. It's been a pleasure to move to Seward, and I hope we can all kind of reflect during the Christmas holiday season on just how blessed we are. And I know for certain, I feel extremely blessed to make acquaintance with everybody in this room and serve alongside you guys for the people. And hopefully 2021 is a little more smooth than last year. But yeah, just really appreciative of this wonderful, beautiful place that we get to call home, and I hope everybody has a good Christmas.
I have one more thing. I just want to congratulate the clerk again on
Just because of who I am, I'm going to start on the phone. I'm sorry people are getting short in person, but Councilmember Cease, I'll let you do council comments.
Well, there isn't a whole lot. Again, I would like to congratulate the clerk. I feel like tonight we've accomplished a lot, and I really appreciate that Sam explained that stuff that I had questions on. And I want everybody to have a Merry Christmas, and let's all stay healthy. That's that.
Thank you. Councilmember Casagrande?
Thank you. I'd like to first congratulate Brenda in her elected appointment to vice city clerk and her future promotion. I'd also like to echo Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. 2020 was a very adventurous year, and I'm looking forward to 2021. And I'd also like to speak in regards to checks and balances. I appreciate my ability to be able to declare a conflict of interest this evening in the CARES Act funding, but I have been literally researching since Sunday morning until this afternoon, trying to chase money and not being able to put together any type of stream of legislative history, and came up with about 5 different numbers of money we had received based on 3 different resolutions. And we as members of the council are part of the balances, checks and balances of the system that's created for the city of Seward. I am a paid elected official, and I do not believe that I am paid enough to have to spend the amount of time and money that I spent chasing numbers to ultimately find it come before us in an amendment for the resolution. I'll go ahead and leave it at that. I'm looking forward to everyone working together in a brighter 2021. But I am very concerned, and I don't believe that my concern will go away until I find more answers to exactly what happened this evening. And with that, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you. I'll go to Councilmember Osenga.
Start off with congrats to the Seward Marine Center in their 50th year. Sure there'll be many, many more years with them here in Seward. Thank you to Becky and everyone at KIBH for their efforts to broadcast our meetings. Looking forward to the Coast Guard home porting and us working with them, I should say, getting into that endeavor. I think I'm looking forward to that. Congratulations to Vice President Ballou for the Alaska Association of Municipal Clerks. Congratulations. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and everyone please be safe out there.
Councilmember DeMoss?
Yes, I will start off with, I want to thank Council Member Sees and Vice Mayor Tony for bringing resolutions to the table tonight. I know that that was a lot of work, and I just really appreciate, in fact, everybody's contribution and work toward that. I know it was a lot of work for everybody. I want to thank administration for all your work. I want to echo what Councilmember Casagrande just said with having concerns about the finance department, and I think it is a red flag that we are in the position that we are in tonight and had to frantically spend $1.3 million and not have the time to do it appropriately, I feel. I'm concerned about the financing records, tracking the CARES money, and I am also really looking forward to having a finance director who I think can support you guys as you deserve. Also, I think that Norm and Stephen both, you are doing an amazing job, and thank you so much for being so accessible to us and answering all of our questions with being like so kind and in a good mood about it and so efficient. I really appreciate that. I want to congratulate Brenda. Everyone thinks you're amazing, Brenda, and I do too, so congratulations. I want to thank all of the nonprofits in Seward. I think that you guys just do such an amazing job, and I know a lot of that work is thankless, especially the Senior Center and the Seward Prevention Coalition. And I also want to remind everybody that you can apply until tomorrow for the government-assisted healthcare at healthcare.gov. It expires 12/15 tomorrow, so I believe. So go online and you can probably qualify for that. The limits are actually pretty high, and with the way things went this year, more people might be able to qualify for it than normal. So, and happy holidays.
Thank you. Councilmember McClure?
Oh, well, what they all said. Congratulations to Brenda, of course, and to the Marine Center for 50 years. I was around when they started and did some microscope work for one of the PhD students down there during a whole summer, looking at the little critters that cause shellfish poisoning. And I've got stories to tell about that. Also with the Tsunami Bowl this year, the Science Bowl, it's going to be virtual, so I'm not sure if I'm really up to being a moderator on a virtual Zoom Science Bowl, so I'm toying with maybe taking a year off on that one. And it's kind of exciting that we're putting the committee back together. That I had mentioned when we finished that nonprofit committee that it was like the best committee I'd ever been on. So I know we'll enjoy a little time together, I guess, and hopefully we can distance and do it that way, or phone, I guess. Brenda will talk about that. And Merry Christmas to everyone. This has got to be as merry as it can be. And also enjoy the fireworks that the Chamber's putting on. For the first time since I moved back, there's going to, I believe the first time, there's going to be New Year's Eve fireworks at midnight, and just hope that the clouds aren't so low that it, masks them. That's pretty exciting. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to thank all the people who submitted public comment today. Becky Dunn, thank you for everything that you do volunteering for the radio and getting accessibility out to everyone here in Seward. To Michelle, Saul, Katie, Kevin, Carol, Dana, Tim, Susie, and Lori, thank you for all of your comments and participating in government. That is the most important thing that every citizen can do, is participate in government. I really want to thank the council tonight for all the work that we've done, and I'm appreciative of it. It's never easy to make decisions like this, and I think we as a council work very well together. Even though we may not agree on everything, we can talk through things and work things out. I'm very, very appreciative to be part of this council. I would like to thank Norm and Stephen and Sam for being very accessible. For Stephen to answer his text messages with his kids, I really appreciate that. You don't have to do those things, and I know that you do those out of love for Seward, and I really appreciate that. I would like to congratulate Brenda as well. Not only does she work really hard for the city, but she also guides our other clerks, like Jessica, into the education and to future career, and helping us get the best out of our city employees, and building long-lasting relationships for people to stay here and be in Seward longer. Congratulations to Jessica with all the beautiful pictures. Thank you for submitting those as well. On December 20th, they'll have Light Up the Night, and I think people will be going down to the beaches and lighting some fires and get out and be social distance and soak up the solstice and bring in the light, and we're right around the corner from that, and that is so exciting to bring that in. I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, Mele Kalikimaka, and a Ha'oli Makahiki-ho. That's a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And thank you again for all the comments tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Sue's always said this, by the time it gets to the end, everyone said anything. But I will say statewide lights at 5 o'clock on the 20th, so that's exciting. Parks and Rec did a great job with the drive-in movie. I hope that catches on. I didn't attend, but I know a lot of kids that attended, and that was really neat. Social distance, able to get kids out there, and just telling the public to check the Parks and Rec Facebook page, because there's been contests where you can run around town and do different things and then enter to win things. So just keeping active and keeping engaged with the community. I do want to say my condolences. We haven't had a meeting to mention Hot Rod Todd's passing. The community's been made aware of that, but I just want it on the record. We're very sorry to his family and to his faith community. I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and a Happy Hanukkah. We're right in the season of Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. And I just want to have one question to administration. Just to verify, in January, you'll be coming back and giving a presentation to council with down to the penny how all the CARES Act, what came in, what came out. You're going to get just things distributed this week, but in January, everything will be done, everything will be off the books, and you're going to give us a full accounting, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I'm just going to check before I dismiss this meeting. We do need a 5-minute break. I'll look around and nod, or do we want to go right into the next meeting? Are we good?
You good?
Good?
I'm good.
Okay, I'm going to, I'm gonna close this meeting. Are you fine, Madam Clerk? The time?
9:42? Yes.
And then I'm going to open the Seward Special City Council meeting Monday, December 14th at 9:42. We are going to repeat the Pledge of Allegiance because it can't be said enough. I'm going to pick someone. I'm going to pick Councilmember Osenga because he's my ally.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Tonight's roll call for the special meeting. Cease.
Yeah.
Casagranda.
Here.
Buckland.
Yes.
DeMoss.
Here.
McClure.
Here.
Bosenga.
Here.
Mayor Terry.
Yes.
You have a quorum.
So number 4 is citizen comments on any subject except those items scheduled for public hearing. We have no public hearings. Did we have anyone sign in?
No, Madam Mayor, we do not.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda and consent agenda. Do I have a motion and a second?
I move for the approval of Resolution 2020-097.
Oh, we're moving for the approval of the agenda, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
I move for the approval of
The agenda and consent agenda.
the agenda and the consent agenda. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I second that.
Thank you. Don't kick me. Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to remove it from
Okay,
consent.
so yeah. So let's remove the resolution 2020-097. Are there any changes? Nope. Okay, let's go ahead and approve the agenda.
Approving tonight's agenda and consent agenda. Bosenga.
Yes.
Cease.
Yes.
Buckland.
Yes.
Casagrande,
Yes.
Demas,
Yes.
Leclerc,
Yes.
Mayor Terry.
Yes.
Your agenda is approved.
Next
There
on-
are no consent items.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is new business, resolution 2020-097.
Resolution 2020-097 is extending the appointment of Harbor Master Norm Regis as acting city manager for 90 days beginning December 16th, 2020 and ending March 15th, 2021, with the option to extend as necessary.
Do I have a motion and a second?
I move to approve Resolution 2020-097.
I'll second.
And I'm not even gonna give administration the ability to speak to this because he's doing it regardless. But since Councilmember Buckland took it off the consent, I'll turn it over to you.
I would like to strike in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whereas and strike 22 and replace that with 50%. And in the sections, section 2, strike 22 and replace that with 50%.
I'll second.
I was gonna increase, that's higher than I was planning. I'll let you speak, stop, sorry. I'll let you speak to your motion, pardon me.
Go ahead.
I received a phone call today from a concerned citizen, and I know that Norm works very hard for this city, and I appreciate what he does. He does 2 jobs. So I would really like to increase it with the city manager pay plus the harbor master pay. But I'd like to be a little realistic on our budget. I am proposing the 50% increase. I do believe that Norm deserves that money and that he works hard every day for the city of Seward.
Okay, Councilmember Osenga.
I guess I'm concerned that we have a resolution here without a dollar amount on it, that just kind of 50% doesn't mean anything to me. Is there, I guess I'm just kind of, I have to apologize, I didn't realize that this was tonight. I didn't even see it until just now. I would have probably looked into this a little bit deeper, but I don't know what these numbers mean. This has no meaning to me. I don't know if we're paying them 300,000, I don't know if we're paying him 100, I don't know if we're paying him 50. I have no idea, so I don't understand what this, I'm not sure how this can be in a resolution this way if there's nothing attached to it that defines what that is.
Okay, I'll let Councilmember Demas make comments.
I understand what Councilmember Osenga is saying, but I am personally looking at it at the percentage of the job. Basically, we're asking him to fulfill a full-time job. He should be he should at least be getting paid 50% of that salary, and we also need to take into consideration that we are not paying that salary to a permanent city manager right now, so we're already saving a lot of money on that line item. And secondly, I believe that he's already been working at a below salary increase of what he should have been given initially. But I was not a part of that discussion.
Councilmember Cease, did you have any comments?
No, I don't.
Councilmember Casagrande?
No, I have no comment other than just echoing what has already been stated, that I don't have numbers either, so Councilmember Osenga, I'm on board with you. I'm just looking at it as a percentage of wage increase, and Norm is doing 2 jobs for the price of 1.25 basically, and so I think he should be paid at least 1.5 for doing 2 jobs that deserve 2 salaries.
So I might just have some comments, and I was planning on increasing it. I believe, we can't say enough nice things about Norm and what a great job he's doing. He's really doing a phenomenal job. However, in city code, if a deputy takes care of their acting, so they're doing their job and their boss's job, it's only a 10% increase. And so this council, at the previous meeting, already said, hey, we want the city to make cuts. We expect the city to make cuts. We want to give all our money to businesses. I don't see how those 2 things jive. when businesses said, we don't want you to spend, money, we want it all to go back to us, which is a right thing to say, but then we have to then manage our city budget. So if we've been telling everyone to make cuts, I think there's a precedent set in council that there's a reasonable expectation. I do want to increase it. If this fails, and I'm going to postpone a different increase, because I do think he's doing more, but I think 50% is just setting a bad precedent when we expect city staff to step in for their bosses quite a bit. Did you have comments? Administration?
Before Norm goes, and I know he's gonna be humble, you're talking at about $7,100 by going from 22% to 50%. Just some rough math, I came up with because I know how much Norm makes, $7,070 by going from 22% to 50%.
An increase.
Correct, assuming 3 months.
That's, okay.
So it's, yeah. So it's 2357 per,
Wait a second, that can't be right. So that's 3 months of his salary at 50%?
no, that's by increasing it from 100, so going from 122% to 150%. Over 3 months, you're looking at a total impact of $7,000.
That doesn't take into account PERS.
Correct.
Or
benefits or anything.
benefits.
Yeah.
That's just the dollar amount.
Correct.
And that will go into next year. So that's just 2 weeks out of this year, and then the rest will be on next year's. Okay, did you have further comments, Councilmember DeMoss?
Yes, just in response to, I guess, Mayor Terry's comments, I do think that it is important to manage the city budget, obviously. I think that the CARES money is a totally separate issue, and I think that we also need to know where to spend our money and how to spend it and to protect that, and I guess that's what I'm seeing here.
So I want to check your math.
Okay.
So let's say that the harbor master makes $50,000 a year, okay? So half of that is $25,000, okay? Half of that is $14,000, so that would be 3 months. So the city manager makes more than $50,000 a year, but you're saying 3 months, this would only be $7,000.
So, okay, so currently you're at 100, and this is all in the wage study table that's already public, so I don't feel like we're talking about anything. So at 22%, it's now at $123,220, okay? So if you go to 1.5, then you're at $151,500. So on an annualized basis, that's an increase of $28,280. Divide that by 12, that's $23,57. You multiply that times 3 months, that's $7,070. So that's the impact of going from 22 to a 50% increase. And like you said, that doesn't include PERS or retirement or benefits or anything.
It brings them up to what a city manager would be making. More?
Madam Mayor, I think I just need to stay at 22%. The city's hurting, everybody else is hurting, I don't need to move up. My opinion would just keep me right where I'm at right now, 22%.
Vice Mayor?
I do want to say, I do agree with Councilmember DeMoss. I think the CARES Act money is a different thing. We're talking about money that was given from the federal government to assist in small business loans and other things like that. We're talking about now our budget, and we do need to, this is the second time we've appointed Norm, and the first time was only at 15% increase.
No, the first time was 22%.
22.
Oh, okay, 22.
It was originally 15 and then they raised it to 22.
And under a recommendation from Mr. Bridges was at 22%. I still stand by my motion, but I do think that Norm does deserve that for the amount of work that he puts in.
Councilmember Osenga?
I just wanted everyone to know that I fully support Norm. I'm not trying to demean you in any way. I understand you're doing a lot of work. I know you're doing the work of two positions in the city. I understand that. And the number, thank you, Stephen, makes a little bit more in context. That's a little bit of a help. But I was just wondering, my original question was going to be what we did before, and I already answered that was 22%, because this is the second time he's done this. And that's all I'm going to say.
Councilmember Cease, did you have any further comments?
No, I didn't. I don't. Thank you.
Councilmember Casagrande?
I do, Vice Mayor Boswan said something and there was like a door opening or a squeaking sound and I could not hear what he said about his motion.
I'm still sticking to my motion.
Thank you.
Okay, the only comment I have is that it's been said a couple times, but the CARES Act funding that we spoke about earlier was municipal CARES Act funds that was absolutely intended to meet budget shortfalls for the city. So where my conversation ties in is that we will potentially have budget shortfalls next year that we have to address, that then these funds will be already allocated. So I just want us to be doing things with eyes wide open because we are going to have to make cuts. Every time we put something into the budget, then something else is going to have to go. And we've heard from the community that they expect us to make cuts. I understand cuts need to be made certain places, but I also hear from the community that cuts to salaries is one thing that they would like to see. And we'll be looking at the wage studies. We'll have to deal with that. Councilmember.
In light of that, and what Mr. Regis said, I think I would probably vote against the 50% and offer up or here an intermediary amount. I think he deserves more than what he's getting, but we might be a bit conservative. So I think I kind of agree with you.
I have one more comment. I think $7,000 is a nominal amount, and if we're going to fight about a couple $1,000s, I think it's just shows our appreciation to go for the higher percentage. In addition, I do have several community members that have reached out and said that we need to cut expenses. Although I had members reach out to me today saying that they are very disappointed to learn that Norm's increase was only 22%, and they couldn't believe it. So just wanted to provide you with that information.
Can I ask one more question of clarification? This is Councilmember Casagrande.
Yes? Go ahead, I'm sorry, yes?
So if we vote on the amendment that's on the floor, will that put Norm at what we paid our last interim city manager at as much as he made?
I don't know what Jeff Bridges.
I don't know. We don't have that information in front of us.
It was about that.
So will this put Norm over $140,000
Yes.
Oh.
Right?
at the 50% increase?
I think the annual number would be 151.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
I believe the annual number would, if we were talking about an annual salary, if that's your question, it would be 151.
151?
Yes.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Which is actually what we're raising our city manager, aren't we raising the?
We're advertising it at 135.
135?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So just to clarify, that's $135,000 for the city manager job that he's performing, and then he's getting paid $16,000 for the full-time harbor master job that he's performing on top of that.
I mean, it really is putting me in a bad position because of course we want, but I'm going to say, so we're setting up where we ask city employees to fill in for their supervisors and do 2 jobs all the time, and in city code we say 10%. Vice Mayor.
But it's more like a director filling a director position. rather than a lower, I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like if a second fills the department head position, it's a 10%.
And we're above that.
Oh, wow.
We're above 10%, 22,
Yeah.
sorry.
no, you just vote.
We'll call for the vote.
Voting on the amendment to replace 22% with 50%. Buckland,
Yes.
Demas,
Yes.
Casagranda,
Yes.
Cease,
Yes.
McClure,
Yes.
Osenga,
No.
Mayor Terry.
Yes.
That amendment has been approved.
Next on the agenda is,
Your main motion is back on the floor.
oh, main motion. So the resolution's back on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Okay, call for the vote.
Voting on resolution 2020-097 as amended. Osenga,
No.
Cease,
Yes.
McClure,
Yes.
Casagranda,
Yes.
Demas,
Yes.
Buckland,
Yes.
Mayor Terry.
Yes.
That resolution has been approved.
Are there any citizen comments?
No, ma'am.
Administration, do you have any comments?
Thank you, I still think we should have just stayed at 22%, because there's a lot of people out there hurting, I just feel, I know I'm doing extra work, Steven's helping a lot, you know, so, and then, you know, all the other, department heads have picked up their, you know, helped out, so, I don't know, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Cease, did you have any comments?
No, I didn't, thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Casagrande?
I'm hoping that our hiring process for the city manager is fast and efficient, and we can get a permanent position filled as soon as possible and find a cost saving in all of that. I also had a meeting with Tom Dillon, or sorry, not Tom Dillon, what's his name? Tim Dillon, sorry, from the KPEDD via phone, and he did let me know that there are a handful of very competitive communities in the state of Alaska also looking for city managers, and we need to really stay on our game and stay up with what other communities are recruiting. So that's that.
Thank you. Councilmember Osenga?
I just want to again reiterate, I do think that you deserve this. I'm just not sure that this was the right time for it, especially with what we've got coming, but I am going to support that the council passed it. So, good.
Thank you. Councilmember Demas?
No comments.
Councilmember McClure?
Well, I too, I think you're doing a wonderful job, Mr. Regis, and it's obvious that everyone else believes that too. So my only concern, and it was the same as Mr. Osenga, is that when push comes to shove, when we do our budgets next year, we may be hurting. So just remember this and what to cut back on. So.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Brookline?
Thank you, Norm, for all your hard work.
I just have a question for the clerk. So I know the first day you told me there were 5 applications submitted. Have you gotten an update from GovHR yet?
You know, I haven't, but I will reach out to them tomorrow and
And
get
then-
some information.
Yeah, and then a timeline?
Oh, the timeline they provided.
Yeah. And so there's no changes to that timeline?
No change, no, not at this point in time.
Okay. Great, thank you. Thank you to Norm, and I know that, you know, thank you to all the department heads doing extra work, and thank you to our assistant city manager doing extra work also. And with that, we will close the meeting at 10:05.
Yes.